Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, place about games, friends, and getting better. I'm Ben Hansen. Thank you for being here, joined by one Leo Vader.
Uh-oh.
Joined by Haley McLean.
Thanks, Ben Hansen. I'm happy to be here.
You betcha. Uh-oh, we let Leo in on this call. We're also joined by one Kyle Hilliard.
Just the one. It's
Just
me.
the one. This is a heck of an episode. Thank you for joining us on this grand adventure in podcasting today, because we have so much to talk about on this here episode. We're talking about a new game from former Blizzard talent that I got to play called Wildgate. We're going to be checking in on a couple more thoughts on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Only 16 thoughts apiece, though, so make sure to ration those out accordingly.
All right.
I'm excited to talk about Midnight Murder Club. Why? Find out later on this episode. And before we get to all that fun stuff, we should mention a couple things. First of all, Nintendo Switch. The grand voyage. We're sending it off into the water and shooting a flaming arrow at the Nintendo Switch 1. We can all forget it ever existed. If you came here for the hot dissection of the Nintendo Direct that happened on Thursday, the final Nintendo Direct for the Nintendo Switch 1, check our YouTube channel. We have a reaction stream there, but we're recording this before we've watched that. So if there's big highlights, a lot of Metroid Prime 4 news, all that fun stuff, we'll talk about it next week on the podcast. But also it's wild to think that on next week's episode of the podcast, Kyle, we're not even going to remember the number one because we'll be all about 2, baby.
Switch 2?
The Switch 2 on the very next episode of the podcast. Isn't that wild that it's coming up that quick?
Wow. That quick.
That quick is a weird way to phrase it. This has taken 8,000 years.
I know it's taken 8,000 years, but now that we're like right at the finish line, it's weird to think like, oh, next week we're going to be like, oh, Nintendo Switch 2, old news, new Mario, new Donkey Kong, old news, honk shoe, you know, normal MinnMax Show podcasting.
All your shots right now.
Wow. But this episode of the podcast is also exciting because we're going to be joined by one Matt Miller in the back half of this here episode of the MinnMax Show. He is the editor-in-chief of Game Informer. Now I hear you out there. You might say, who cares? That magazine was shut down last year.
I think you spent like weeks celebrating its demise.
I'm role-playing as a crappy guy in the YouTube comment section. But big news this week, Game Informer is back. And not just that, but 100% of the team that was let go in the final closure of Game Informer has returned. And so Matt Miller, as the editor-in-chief, has returned as well. So he's going to join us in the back half of the show to answer some of your burning questions about Game Informer's return and answer some fun community questions as well that people submitted there on Patreon. But obviously, as part of this whole thing, everyone who's let go from Game Informer last year is back, which means one Kyle Hilliard is also back, man. Congratulations.
Third time's the charm, baby.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Tom Blackburn wrote in community comment here saying, I want to ask Kyle how many times he plans to work for Game Informer. You're on 3 right now. What do you want to get up to?
Yeah, me and Wesley LeBlanc are on the same boat in that way, in that we were both laid off twice, and we relate in that way. But I am optimistic about the future. I feel good about the future of Game Informer right now. Yeah,
so a company called Gunzilla, which is also, it's a larger investment firm as well. We'll get into all that stuff with Matt Miller, I presume. But they purchased Game Informer away from GameStop for, guess how much money, Haley?
I know how much money.
Damn it. Leo, guess how much money?
It would have to be in the trillions.
I think that's right. And based on Kyle's expression, I think that's exactly right.
I genuinely don't know. I don't know how.
I'll tell you after the show.
I saw it. It's written somewhere.
Interesting. So, wild news. They brought everybody back. The cool thing is Charles Hart, who's been helping us out at MinnMax for a long time here. He is brought back on full time. He was just part time before in a very frustrating position. So now he has a full time job over there at Game Informer, which is awesome. Shout out to Matt Miller for. It's very sweet of him to keep me in the loop on this Game Informer revival stuff. So I've been eerily quiet about some things, but there were funny little clues, I think, if you're following MinnMax closely. Very subtle stuff. Like just the other week, I was thinking like, God, Kyle's really compelled to get through Wanderstop. What's going? It doesn't really seem like the type of thing you get. There's like, oh, I see, it's a secret Game Informer review. There are a couple of those where it's like, oh, that's the fire under Kyle's ass to play through this entire game.
I did not clock that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what's funny about that, Ben? Is
Yeah.
that was totally my prerogative. I was not assigned Wanderstop to review. I was just playing it, and I was like, I like this. I'm going to finish it so I can review it. We'll throw it on the pile.
All right, that's wild. So it's funny. I was gonna, make a joke about like, oh, Kyle, what would have been Game Informer's Game of the Year in 2024? And the awesome thing is, you guys all turned the site back on, and then also you have the full Game of the Year lists and Game of the Year awards and stuff for 2024's games, which is an awesome
You'll
touch.
never guess what we picked. It's surprising everybody.
Go to Game Informer.
You
keep
had
the lights
to
on.
wait until we picked so you could come back and pick the right answer.
So now that you're back, Kyle, you're technically executive editor now.
Not
right?
technically. That is my title, Ben.
I know. I guess so. It's just weird. So there's a pivot, because what were you before in your previous incarnation?
I was magazine content director. Yeah.
Okay. And so now you and Brian Shea are both executive editors? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of had the opportunity to like decide if we wanted to change our titles, and we sort of talked through it. And it was always kind of fuzzy to divide between magazine and website anyway, which is kind of what I was magazine content director. He was online content director.
Right.
And it was kind of like it came into play sometimes, but mostly we were just like, I don't know. It seemed like that was where we wanted to be in terms of title. And also, it's funny. I was like looking around, and I noticed. Polygon has 2 executive editors, and I was like, okay, so this is like a thing that people do. They share this title, so me and Brian wanted to do that.
That's sweet.
Nice.
Congratulations on Game Informer coming back. Congratulations on the huge news of the 2025 game release calendar coming back. Now has its own tab
Yes.
on Game Informer's
that's
site, so
sweet.
everybody bookmark
Calendar.
the sweetest gaming release calendar possible.
I put a lot of work into getting that up to snuff like before launch. That was like a lot of my time, but I specifically want to shout out Marcus Stewart, who just happened to maintain that list personally. He just, when Game Informer shut down, he's like, I just like having this list, so I'm going to keep track of it. And he just had an Excel document that he was
What an
keeping track
angel.
of. And it made like updating that list, which was a significant amount of work, like totally like doable and like way less difficult. So shout out to Marcus Stewart.
That's incredible.
Wild. I mean, Caitlin has the basic question for you of just, how does it feel to be part of Game Informer again? I'm so excited for you. Also, love to see Ben in the video, LOL, for the reveal video. Yeah, some old Game Informer footage. It was funny to just be like, I went to like Gunzilla's site, and they had the video in there as well, their own video about it. It's just weird, like seeing footage of like Smashed, like that Smash Brothers marathon documentary, and that is like, what a weird thing in the year 2025 to be seeing again on this distant site on the internet.
We're part of it for a long time.
I guess that's true. But yeah, how do you feel, Kyle? It's got to be a weird one.
Real quick, by the way, also I want to shout out John Woody, who's does web design and stuff like that in the background game. He also put a lot of work into that game.
It looks
release
great.
List. Yeah,
I love the website.
How I feel is weird because I'm so happy to be working with that group of folks again. But like today and yesterday, I was shocked by how stressed and like anxious I was and kind of continue to be, because like I've been involved with the launch of things. Even MinnMax, I was involved with the launch of it. But like this was like there's like weird expectations surrounding it, and it was like. I don't know. It really surprised me that I'm in that weird point where like you're really working towards something big happening, and then it finally happens, and then you're kind of like almost like floating because you're like, I don't now I have to like actually go back to do the work again after all this all the work we were doing leading up to it. So I'm in a weird frazzled place right now.
I get it. It's got to be weird. I mean, was there any part of you that were kind of weighing the pros and cons of going back? It's got to be weird of like, oh, if the entire team's back, that's awesome. At the same time, this place has laid me off multiple times.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, that was a big discussion for my wife and I of like, do we want to do this? But it was like, I love working there. I love the people there. I love working for Matt Miller as my boss.
Yeah.
If Matt Miller is like not a super public person, like we all know him pretty well, but maybe you'll get a chance to meet him at the end of this episode. But like, he's a fantastic boss,
he's going to be
I really
like,
love working for him.
It's going to be like one of those 60 Minutes interviews. He's going to be like shadowy. He's going to have voice distortion filters on. So just don't build up expectations.
But no, yeah, it was a big decision, and it was not one I took lightly. But I was once I sort of crossed that threshold, I was eager to do it, and I was excited to work with everybody again. And I was also sad to leave Thorium behind as well, which was only there part time. But like I really enjoyed working there and like working on Undermine 2, and I really liked that game. So it was actually like I was not looking forward to that call with them to like tell them, you know, about everything, but they were super supportive and they're like, yeah, we totally get it, we understand, like take that opportunity. So yeah, no, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Kyle, have you ever watched Parks and Rec?
Of course, every episode.
I picture like you as Ben Schwartz character.
Oh, no.
Like the accountants are like, we got him. He's working for us. It's like Thorium. You're like, Game Informer's back. I gotta leave. And they're all like, no.
There's like that one shot where he's like walking around the office. Right?
Yeah.
Well, congrats. So site's back up, which is awesome. The physical magazine is coming back, but not for a while. Is there a window?
We have, I mean, no, we don't have like a date locked in, but it's not the kind of thing. We're not talking about like, you know, like a year or anything like that. Like we're talking to printers now, you know, like we're hoping like, you know, months, you know,
Okay.
or maybe weeks if we're getting really optimistic, but like it's, yeah, for sure coming back. That was early discussions with Matt when it was like, you know, do we want to do this? My big thing was like, it's not that like it's not that I'm like obsessed with print and think we need print and like
Kyle, this is the wrong thing to say as you're bringing Game Informer back.
But what I'm getting at is like, I think it's the thing that like, I mean, it's the thing that sets Game Informer apart, right? Like it's the thing that is today in 2025 and even the last 5 or 6 years was like, there isn't a lot of that. And like, I don't mean to say like I don't like print. I love having a magazine. I love making a magazine. I love getting a physical thing and flipping through it. That's fantastic. But I'm just saying that it was an important part of even, you know, deciding to move forward with all this was like I do want to make sure there's a magazine because I think it is a unique element of Game Informer that people know Game Informer for, and we hope people continue to know Game Informer for a long time.
It's not just Game Informer coming back. It's like Game Informer, that team getting to do what they always wanted to do, less hampered, having a parent company that like respects them and their autonomy. Nothing has got me more excited than Alex Van Aken talking to me about setting a video budget, like figuring out what to ask for and stuff.
Oh my
and
God.
Like, wow, a budget, a number you get to know. And that is the money you have for the video department. Completely unprecedented.
The bar is in hell.
Oh my God. I still lose sleep about that idea of 9 years as Game Informer's video producer and just asking, is there a video budget? What is it? Just the frustration of asking like, hey, could we get a new tripod? And it was either like, are you out of your fucking mind? Or like, yeah, of course, no problem. So it was either one of the two. It was never a clear thing of this is the budget for the video department. It was so infuriating. Awesome. We'll talk all about it. Also, shout out, wanted to mention something real quick is, Haley, are you the thing?
That might be.
No, come on, guys. She's not the thing. Check out the extended GDC travelogue to learn who is. Here's the thing, everybody. If you support MinnMax on Patreon, I got it. If you support MinnMax on Patreon at the Backstage Pass tier, which is the $10 tier on Patreon before March 31st, 2025, so before the end of this week. So if you either join or if you upgrade to that Backstage Pass tier, we will be sending out a code for The Thing Remastered from Night Dive. Obviously, we love The Thing here at MinnMax. We're the deepest dive on it. I played this game back in the day, and Night Dive, they've become the masters of the remasters at this point. So, if you support us on Patreon at the $10 tier, we'll send you that code. Now, here's the catch. We send you a DM on Patreon with this. We have only 15 codes left. 15 codes left. We'll post on Blue Sky, Twitter, Discord, Instagram when we run out of codes. But another twist is Night Dive very generously, maybe accidentally, but generously sent us 100 codes for Turok as well, the remaster of Turok. So we only have 15 codes left for The Thing Remastered, but if you support us on Patreon at the $10 tier before the end of this week, March 31st, we will send you a code for Turok, the remaster of that, and we'll let you know when we're out of those also on social. So thanks everybody for joining that $10 tier. You unlock the extended version of the travelogue for GDC, which is up on YouTube right now, which is 6 hours long. Find out who's the thing by unlocking and watching that full version, which is a twisted tale.
I'm watching it right now. It's fun.
All right, here we go. Let's talk about a game called Midnight Murder Club. Could you sing it as like Chaperone or something, Haley? Is that an option?
Midnight Murder Club. I'm gonna get shot at the Midnight Murder Club.
But in a fun way. It's a party game, everybody. Kyle, have you followed Midnight Murder Club at all?
No, I really haven't. Yeah.
Okay.
Been busy the last couple days. I know it existed before then, but
But still, I think it's a fascinating story. When we make the case, maybe back on the Game Informer show that every game is interesting. This is up there for me. I think it's just a really fascinating little pocket of a release that says a lot about the current game industry. So Midnight Murder Club, it is a first-person shooter, more of a party game-like experience that's on Steam and PS5 at this point. And the big hook is that you're in a lights-out mansion for the levels here. All the lights are off, and you have a flashlight you can turn on if you want, but then people see where you are, and then you try and hunt down, shoot the other players, all that stuff. That's
or
the
they'll see the muzzle flash of your gun. If you shoot, you give yourself away that way. I thought it was a social deduction game going into it, but it's not that at all. It's just a free-for-all shooter with really weird rules.
That's exactly it. But the part that's wild, Kyle, that I think makes it more interesting for you is that technically, now correct me if I'm wrong, Chet, but as far as I can tell, this is the first-person shooter that PlayStation has published since Killzone Shadowfall in 2013. Like, this is technically a Sony game. I think maybe VR, there might be something, but non-VR games probably a better distinction there. But Kyle, I mean, can you think of any other first-person shooter since Killzone Shadowfall?
And Shadowfall was the PS4 launch?
Yeah, so 12 years ago.
Treethan in the Backstage Pass chat says Concord.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
You're already forgetting Concord.
That's so
been
sad.
Less than a year.
That's so sad because also I think this game relates to Concord. I want to talk about Concord, and still I did not clock it as obviously Concord came out last year.
It kind of doesn't exist, right?
Technically, you're right. You're right. Game that exists.
The world forgot it.
No, but I do think
important qualifier.
It is the wild thing.
Except for the one, major game first-person shooter that they published. Yeah, I can't think of any other.
Yeah, I spent years and years and millions of dollars.
Yeah, but I do think there's something.
Sorry, Concord. You're a good game.
We liked you, I swear. But it is so wild, and it's tough to read the tea leaves for a big corporation like this. But I do think there is something happening now where Midnight Murder Club, it's like, I don't think Sony wants to push it that hard because they're so scared of another Concord. They're so scared of being like, it's a multiplayer game, then everyone's going to come in screaming live service, yada, yada, yada. And then if it fails, they'll have two of these flops in a row, even though Midnight Murder Club is a cute little party game, not it's something that costs hundreds of millions of dollars.
But Concord got a lot of hate for its character designs and stuff. People thought they were cringe designs. Do you think that's why they made this game pitch black and you can't see anybody?
I think that's right. Yeah, I dare you.
That was a late decision.
I dare to complain about it. But Kyle,
isn't it turned out all the lights?
Don't you think it's weird that Sony has published this game and it hasn't been in a state of play yet? Like, maybe they're waiting for early access phase to be over, but you can buy it right now on PS5 and Steam.
It has 20 players playing it right now on Steam.
Now, here's the kicker. I had a good time playing this game. I think it's a fun, silly party game. I don't want to bring this up just to dunk on it, another Sony failure, because I do think it's cool. I think it's just fascinating for a publisher messaging aspect. The fact that they're just let's not talk about it at all unless it's a big hit or until maybe it's 1.0 down the road.
A lot of flashlight proximity chat games right now.
Yeah.
That I think might just have a little bit more going on. I haven't played them, to be fair, but just based on me watching gameplay online, it's a very popular game style right now because it's TikTokable. And then they do what I really like about this game is they give you 5 free codes. You buy it once and you can give it to 5 friends. That's so gracious. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, Hazelight, those cheap bastards just let you give it to one friend.
One?
Just 5 codes for friends. I do think that's wild at this point.
As total sales, we think, according to Hazelight. We're not sure.
Well, unclear. They said it didn't, but who knows?
Yeah, this does have a little bit of that proximity chat goofiness, but I think in general, versus something like Among Us or Lethal Company, where people see clips on social media and aren't necessarily into video games in a big way. It's this is a fun way to dink around with my friends. I don't know if this has the exact same appeal as that. I feel like Haley was dominating last night or the other night because she's really good at shooters. That carries you in this.
Yeah, but then again, if you just never turn your flashlight on, she wouldn't be able to see you, so you could still...
She buys night vision every round. I mean, we can get into that, the low moral fiber of Haley's gameplay style, but I don't think
I use the abilities they give me in the game. Get good.
Yeah.
They didn't give me that one.
No, I think it's cool. Somebody who, loved Perfect Dark and GoldenEye and all that stuff back in the Time Splitter is I'm happy to have just kind of a light, breezy first-person shooter experience. And you buy one copy, you get 5 for your friends. You will have a fun time with friends if you're all playing this. And the proximity chat is such a huge component of it. Just
it's a good proximity chat. It adds echo. If you're past one door, it sounds different than if you're past 2 doors. You can tell they focused a lot on the sound of it.
Yeah, and it's just so fun to hear you two screaming at each other like across the mansion, like, Leo, I was just about to deposit that cash in the thing. How dare you? It's like trying to figure out where you guys are and like stumbling through the dark as I slowly get over there, or just like being in a room crouched in the corner in the dark and then just hearing the door to the room open.
You love that move.
Oh my God, it's so fun. It's so funny then just hear Haley be like, hello, and then just like take a shot where you think she's going to be. It's
Yeah.
You were
very
trying to
satisfying.
terrorize us as the demon, and you were like yelling through the wall creepy stuff because it deepens your voice when you're the demon in certain modes, which
Right.
is really fun. But then it was like, well, we can just hear that you're on the other side of that door, and then the door started to creak open, and we just shot you. There was like the positional audio. There's only one place you could be.
It's such a specific thing, but like if you're playing this game like with a Discord video window open, it's really fun because like I would just start up the game and then I just go like, bah! I just make some loud sound and then watch your faces and I can see who would react. So it's like, okay, clearly they heard me, even if they're not shouting back. So therefore I know that this
Own
person's
strategy.
closer than the other.
Oh my God, you had the big brain strategy of you turned your flashlight on and off, and Leo's face was illuminating on and off with his camera, and you knew that then he was nearby. I was like, that's genius.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, Kyle. Like when I heard this game talked about on the Friends Per Second podcast, Alana was enjoying it over there too. Like I assumed like, okay, it's going to be dark, but you can probably bump the brightness up, yada, yada, yada. But it's like, no, it is literally pitch black when you have the flashlight on. They have like little specks of dust. You can kind of see if you're moving.
That's smart.
But and the cool thing too is like, it gets rid of the entire UI as well if you have the flashlight off. So it is just like a black screen. So when you talk about these types of games, kind of the asymmetrical multiplayer, how Lethal Company likes, it's like, how TikTokable is just blackness, you know? It's really tough.
Well, that's because you said, it's never been in a PlayStation showcase, and I even pulled up the trailer on PlayStation's YouTube channel, and it has a lot of the developer talking head, like explaining the game.
They need to,
and it's
yeah.
like it's got. I mean, I'm looking at it. It's kind of a hard game to show off, right? It's like a game you kind of got to play because otherwise it's just kind of darkness, which is like. You guys are selling me on it. It sounds cool, but I understand why Sony might be a little hesitant to like show it off because you really kind of have to get your hands on it. Well, which is smart that they're giving away like, you get 5 passes when you buy the game.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, what's really weird, what makes it even more interesting, you guys, is if you remember Xbox, it was just last year. I'm trying to remember in what presentation, but they were showing off a game that they partnered with for promotion called Blind Fire, which is also a first-person shooter completely in the dark. It's less fully in the dark than Midnight Murder Club, but it's also like is really tough to see. And so it's just so weird that Sony and Microsoft at the same time are pushing these games, and obviously Sony funded Midnight Murder Club, so it's a little bit different because it's a fully...
And they're both flopping.
Right, so far.
Leo, you pointed out when we watched that other game, it's like cosmetics for this game. It's like, who cares? You're in the dark.
Right. But it's
That's a tough one.
It's tough because like it's inherently. I'm not trying to like overhype it. I do think it's like it's good for one fun evening with your friends, but at the same time, it's just like, I mean, is it doomed already? And so Sony will now just sweep it under the rug preemptively. Like, how important is getting out of the gate here? We should say it has like mixed reviews on Steam, but a lot of that's like, I have to use my PlayStation login. F you. So it's really tough to get a sense of like, are other people enjoying this? I think they would if they tried it.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see the numbers on PlayStation, the amount of players, if it's just like a non-Steam thing. Yeah.
Could very well be more.
Because if it's that low, I do not want to play this without friends, right? Like, because then you're just playing with the same randos over and over, and if they suck, then your night sucks.
Yep, exactly, because it's so kind of leaning into the voice chat stuff. But it kind of made me, realize that I'm really missing out on this whole arena. I don't even know what you'd call it for these games that are really popular on Steam, but kind of like a repo, Lethal Company, like I think Phasmophobia is the only one I really gave a shot to, and I'm trying to think of, is Phasmophobia the game that kind of kickstarted this genre? Is that fair? I'm trying to think of what.
Among Us, kind of, I think in general.
Yeah.
'Cause I think you had to mod in proximity chat, but then as soon as you did that, it was like, it blew up on Twitch and stuff, and it became a lot more clippable. But in terms of like the 3D stuff, probably, Phasmophobia.
Yeah.
I think it's the proximity chat. I think that's the golden underline. Like, proximity chat is always funny if you add it to horror, no matter what elements you add to it. Your friend getting dragged away by a monster and their scream slowly gets quieter and quieter as they pull away from you will never not be funny.
Yeah, for sure. It's crucial. And the weird thing too is it's developed by Velan Studios. Kyle, I don't know if you remember them, but they made Knockout City, which was great, kind of underappreciated game from a couple years ago. And then they made your beloved favorite game, Mario Kart Home Circuit. the weird Mario Kart based on real physical cars. They're a fascinating weird
I
studio.
opened that up and drove it around a little bit and put it back in the box, and it's been sitting on a shelf for a while.
But to be fair, of course, to that Mario Kart game, as you took it out, you probably thought, this isn't bad. This is kind of cool. I'll never play it again, but it's kind of a cool thing.
I like this.
I'd say Christmas morning play and never touch again.
Yeah. Is that just kind of the legacy of VLAN Studios at this point? Is Knockout City and Mario Kart Home Circuit is a series of games like, this is cool, good job. I mean, I'm not going to play it more, but like, it's really cool. I think it's a neat little thing you did here. But yeah, very curious to see the full journey of Midnight Murder Club, if anybody out there is playing it.
Yeah, there was one mode tagged as experimental that had like cards and you were unlocking
Yeah.
things that changed the match, made us 50% smaller or whatever.
Yeah. I thought that was cool.
Really
Yeah.
game-changing stuff.
Yeah, and it's like, experimental trying to couch it, but I do think like, okay, that could add some longevity to this idea. Like, okay, every time you die, a bear trap is left in the spot where you died, or like you have a card that you can play before the match as you choose which cards you want to play out of your deck or whatever. It's not exactly like a frag punch situation where it's like in the action, but one of the cards that I got was like, there will always be a spotlight on whoever's in the lead, following them around the mansion, which is a cool idea. So anyways, yeah, Midnight Murder Club for that whole thing. If you wanted to learn more about Midnight Murder Club, Kyle, what would you do?
Google Midnight Murder Club?
That's exactly right. And what would you use to Google Midnight Murder Club?
Patreon? Is that what we're getting at?
How could you possibly be confused with this? No, you'd use a browser. And
Google's our new sponsor, Kyle.
Come on, man.
Is that right? Is this like when email sponsored your streams, Leo?
Yes.
Some of my favorite jokes.
Kyle, you're a really spicy guy. At the same time, I bet you use some boring browser for internet browsing, like Firefox, Chrome. I go.
You nailed it on one.
Yep.
Firefox.
What if I told you that there's a browser, and their pitch is it's a browser for gamers, and this is called Opera GX. Forget F-Zero. This is Opera GX. Thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring this episode.
Opera.
That's exactly it. That's where they got their
That's
start.
like a gamer cred.
That's right. So the angle is, hey, browsers are boring, but you can make it more suitable for the gaming lifestyle. What if there's a browser that is trying to court gamers as specifically as possible? And you might say, I don't know what that means. What could that possibly mean? There is cool stuff like you can actually check to minimize how much your browser is dragging down your PC performance. You can actually check that. It's like they brought up the example. If you bring up Chrome, you can see like, this is really actually eating into more of my RAM than I thought it would as I'm playing games and whatnot. And so you can
Chrome is thick.
Yeah, unnecessarily thick is their angle as well. And so you can check this, you can get the optimum performance while gaming. Also, these have cool features like forced dark mode. For even sites that don't allow dark mode, this will force it. It has built-in VPN. No options here, Haley. Also, they have a bunch of mods, as they put it, because, gamers, right? So you can go check out the mods on their site and install just a bunch of interesting things. They have over 9,000 mods. They have stuff like, it'll kind of make it seem like it's your desktop, but like when you open a new tab, like a cool custom background, like kind of like underwater waves floating through, or one is called GX Boy. And it's just like a little 8-bit ghouls and ghosts little boy video game like running in the background like as you're browsing. So they're pushing it. They're trying to get you. And they also just had a big whole upgrade to Opera GX to make it look even better. A big old facelift over there with new sidebar transparency. Now provides a more immersive experience of the wallpaper and everything else. So you can use the link in the show notes to download Opera GX if you want to check it out. That's operagx.gg/the MinnMax show. Link below if you want to check out a browser designed for gamers, Kyle.
Cool.
Goddamn right, cool. Almost as cool as
that's all you got to say?
Yeah, come on, man. They're supporting the episode, Kyle. You just say cool?
Fantastic, wonderful, thrilling.
All right.
Prove it, buddy.
Substantial.
Assassin's Creed Shadows. Speaking of substantial, Kyle, you've been playing it. Leo, we talked about it last week. Surely we don't have anything else to say. Haley, you've also been playing it and haven't really got a chance to talk about it. But Kyle, how far are you in Assassin's Creed Shadows?
I have the two protagonists now, right? Which is like, I don't know, I think I'm at like 7 or 8 hours or something like that. Like it takes a while to sort of get the option to switch between them back.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're kind of like rushing to try and get to that spot of like, okay, this feels like where the game really begins is being able to switch back and forth here?
Not really, actually, because I was really enjoying playing as Naui, and I am continuing to do so. So, like, I did find myself just doing a lot of side stuff. I've really been uncharacteristically taking the game casually, which is, I guess, a compliment to it. I just don't feel compelled to speed through in a way that, like, I'm enjoying. Like, which is not how I usually play games. Like, even with open world games, I usually stick to the main path for a long time, just to kind of like. Because, like, so often you'd be like, oh, I want to go do a bunch of side stuff, but, like, you don't really have the tools you need yet, so you might as well just stay on the main path for a while. But I'm enjoying it. It's funny, like, the last handful of Assassin's Creeds, I haven't beaten an Assassin's Creed since 3. And then, like, you know, Origins didn't really grab me, Odyssey didn't really grab me, Valhalla, like, started grabbing me, but I fell off. But this one, this is the one that has, like, pulled me in the most, even though it is, and I mean, you guys said it last week too, but it's like, it's hard not to think of Ghost of Tsushima while playing this game. And I do prefer Ghost of Tsushima. I think Ghost of Tsushima is a better game, but, like, this game has a great mood that I'm just really enjoying being in. It's like, I haven't had this thought in a while, weirdly, but it's like, when you're, like, you know, up on the Eagle Point and you're, like, seeing the whole environment, I have those moments where I'm like, man, imagine if I saw a screenshot for this, like, when I was, like, in middle school and was playing, you know, Ocarina of Time. Like, I just would have been like, I just wouldn't have believed it. I would have been like, there's no way a video game will ever look like that. That's just not possible. And it's fun to kind of have that reaction today.
But then the question is, with modern gaming, but is your heart feeling it as much as your brain is? If I time traveled, I'd really be feeling something while playing this game, you know? I
mean, if I were 13 again playing this game, I would really be feeling more invested.
But 40-year-old Kyle is feeling a slight... I
mean, not really emotionally invested in the story. Is that the question you're asking?
I guess not.
Yeah, I'm just enjoying, like, moving around and taking on the little objectives that are available to me. But, like, in terms of, like, the narrative and, like, really being compelled to move forward, I mean, no, I'm really not. That's why I'm taking it so slow, because I'm not really all that curious to see what's next. But though I did learn about, I'm so familiar with Nobunaga as a video game character. I mean, I always knew he was a real historical figure, but there was a story moment involving him where I immediately went, like, is that true? And I, like, went and looked it up. I was like, oh, I had no idea. Interesting.
Is our boy Guildenstern in it too from Onimusha, just to get all the freaks in here?
Ooh, I haven't seen him yet.
Here's hoping. Haley, what is your journey? I heard your one sentence takeaway on Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I'm very confused about whether or not you're enjoying the game.
I am too. I'm also confused about whether or not I'm enjoying it. I think it's visually stunning. And to be honest, I've only ever dabbled. I really like the more linear Assassin's Creeds. I've played all of those. I think the last one I fully beat was Black Flag, but I've dabbled in almost every one since then. So I've never fully beat, like, an open world Assassin's Creed game. But I play a lot of other Ubisoft games, like particularly Watch Dogs is, like, my favorite series and stuff like that. So I don't mind the Ubisoft checklist model. Like, I know some people really bounce off of it. I don't mind it. If anything, I get the good brain juice from it, and I can zone out and just, like, clear out map areas and go to the highest peak and be like, wow, now the eagle is yellow instead of white. I feel like I did something tonight. I don't know. So that works on me. But what I'm struggling with, even though I think I will finish this game, so take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt, is everything is almost satisfying. Do you know what I mean? Like, climb to the top. And I'm like, I did it. And they're like, get down. I'm like, that's not as fun. I mean, sometimes you can jump into hay bales. I get it. That's the Assassin's Creed thing. It does a little shwee sound effect they've done for 20 years. I get it. But then there's sometimes where they don't have the hay bale and I generally have to, like, rappel down, or she breaks her shins if I jump down. That's not very fun. Clearing out areas, I think, like, Far Cry still is, like, my favorite mechanic of clear out an area. You can see people returning to it. You feel like you did something. Here, you go into, like, a castle, and then you have to scan and try to find the 3 samurai, and they'll be, like, little white dots, and I can never effing find them. And then
they're too big.
The places are huge. Yeah,
those castles,
they're huge.
Like, they're too big, because it's like I feel like I've been spending so much time here, and I'm like, I think I got everybody, but yeah, you have to go on the map and see if you've, like, gotten the 3. What are they called? The Daimos or something?
Daimos or something.
Daisho? Yeah, and it's like, last night I spent, like, 10 minutes just looking for the 3rd one. Like, and it's that's.
And what I unfortunately stumbled into was I went to a castle and I killed absolutely everyone in the castle. I was in there for probably 45 minutes. Cannot find the dice shells. There's supposed to be 3 of them in a chest. Can't find anything. Looked at a guide. It showed me where the chest was. Walked up to where that is. It wasn't spawning. Google it to realize it's a bug where they don't spawn sometimes in this castle. So I'm like, cool, I hate this. I just ran around for 45 minutes, killed literally everybody in this castle, and the game is just like still red, shows that area as red or whatever. I have to walk away from it and go do something else. I don't know. That only happened once, but God, that pissed me off and made me not want to play.
Frustrating.
Yeah.
Places kind of repopulate. Like you'll clear a base and do the objective and get the chest, and that's like completed. You got the legendary loot. But then you can still mouse over it and it'll say wealth level, and that seems to fluctuate based on time, or maybe it builds over time. But it is like kind of refilling with loot for you to hit this thing again if you want to get more chests by running through it. That's the way it's designed, is to be a bit more like. In some ways, that's like living more, right? That it's being repopulated. But in a collectathon type thing, it's a less satisfying box to be checked.
Yeah, and then like the base building stuff, as soon as I saw base building, I was like, let's go. Love me a little base building.
Yeah.
I
was like, let's go out of this area back to the game, because I don't want to do this.
Oh, that's the other thing. You have to completely run out of the base area to load back into the map, and you can't call your horse in the base. So you have to run to the edge of the base area to load back into the map. Is that what I'm doing wrong?
You can fast travel.
You can fast travel.
But there have been times where it's like, well, it's closer to here than my
Yes.
fast travel points, because just early on specifically. But yeah, that is a weird big place to have to
That's
only
a little
run
dumb.
across.
And then when I was building my base, I was like, okay, I'll line up all my buildings like this. The amount of doors I had to open to find absolutely anything, because there's 8,000 sliding doors. They're like, go like improve your weapons with what's his name. You just built this area, the forge, to build it. I'm like, door. I'm just trying to find where he is. So now I have
cut through doors now. I don't even open them anymore if I'm not being stealthy. I just like, because then they stay open and it's easier to navigate.
Yeah, right. I should just do that. You know, you go to another area, they say find 3 pages, you pick them up, and then it goes, you have a knowledge point. And I'm like, okay, look, I need 50 more to go up to the next level. And I'm like, Jesus. What do
you do? Why are you playing this game if it's just putting you slightly in a bad mood all the time?
Because I like doing things like that when it's fun to do things like that. Right. And there's a couple things in this that are kind of fun to do that I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. And I do like the story. I like the characters. Yeah. And whatever. It's just like, it's always on the precipice of scratching the itch of the checklist game that I like, and it never quite scratches it. So now I'm just getting pissed off.
Yeah, it is. It's a very easy game to nitpick because it's so big. I don't know. Yeah, but like, it is weird. I keep booting it up every night, even though I do have these frustrations with it. I threw it in our Slack channel. I pretty quickly turned off that using scouts to find navigation points. Which I was kind of like hesitant to do it because it felt like that was like a core part of the design. But like that really helped me a lot. Like just to have just icons that you go straight to, and you don't have to like, because the cities they do all kind of look similar. So it's not like if you're looking for someone, it's like, oh, look for that one specific building that you recognize. Like that would be interesting. Mostly I just found myself aimlessly walking around like an area that kind of looked similar to the last area. Yeah. So I recommend turning that off, because it didn't really add a lot ultimately for me. I'm glad it's an option.
Too. I thank you for that comment, because I immediately went and turned that off, Kyle. Okay. I had to think about it too. I'm like, is this something that's going to take away from what they want me to feel in this game? And I came to the conclusion of not really, because the scout thing is really, it's not like when you send out a scout, there's some extra mission that goes into finding the person, and it feels more grounded. It's literally just like the map goes bloop bloop, and then it goes, here he is, and I'm like, I don't need that. I just show me where the blue thing is, and I'll go to him. It didn't. Yeah. I don't know. It wasn't like it was adding any level of immersion or anything for my personal experience. So I was like, I'm gonna just turn that off.
That's definitely a feature I like want to root for, but don't necessarily enjoy when I'm doing it. And we're gonna check back in on Atomfall in the next week or two. I'm still loving that. Ooh, and that does have a similar, like, a lead points you in a direction and tells you one landmark to look out for. But it's something about it, you know, it's because it's first person, maybe because it's smaller zones, but it's like always engaging so far to be told the general what to look for, and you actually have to engage with your environment to find it. And I was not having that experience.
Yeah,
it's also kind of hard that this game looks so much like Ghost of Tsushima, and that has the best direction mechanic of all time, aka the wind thing. Yeah, it's like this looks like that game, and it doesn't have that. So I'm like, worse.
All right, I'm curious to hear, as people continue making their way through Assassin's Creed Shadows.
The classic Haley thing is, I'll keep playing it.
Hey, God bless you. And then also,
we have faith in anyone in finishing Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's Haley.
Yeah, she just finished Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, so she can prime herself for 2 and jump into that. So
I've been playing 2, yeah.
Are you enjoying 2 so far? We don't need to make a whole thing out of it, but...
I'm enjoying 2. It's fun.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about that in a bigger way in the
Little
future,
tease.
I'm sure. Little tease. There is a game that ain't out yet that I got to play a preview for. Pulling a Jeff Keighley. I got to hang out with the developers. Actually, they're really cool. They gave me a glass of wine.
They liked me.
Yeah, they liked me, everybody. No doubt about it. Actually, it's very appropriate.
They left a whole tray of appetizers out just for me and my best friends. It's so crazy.
There's a game called Wildgate, which is from Moonshot Games, which, don't be confused, it's part of Dreamhaven, which is the team that was formed by former Blizzard folks like Mike Morhaime. Haley, you read Jason Schreier's book. You remember all about Mike Morhaime, right? So,
him.
yeah, a bunch of Blizzard leads left years ago, and they formed Dreamhaven, and so this is one of those big games that they're making. They're also making a game called Sunderfolk with a studio called Secret Door that's also former Blizzard developers. But then also it's confusing because then they're publishing games like Linked that Max Spielberg is working on. Thank you for remembering, Leo. I was going to quiz you. Thank you for jumping on the subtitle because I was struggling as I was making the lower thirds in that GDC travelogue. I was like, can I do this without Googling? What is the subtitle for Linked Banner of the Spark? But this is a game that, in theory, is going to be launching this year, and it's called Wildgate. And you might have caught it because Jeff Keighley had a whole presentational stream. He's everywhere showing off this thing. But I was happy that I got to jump in. So it is... I was curious about it because it's, some former leads from StarCraft. So the studio head, Jason Schreier, he worked on StarCraft. He worked on Hearthstone. He also spent a lot of time working on the StarCraft first-person shooter game, which was eventually canceled. Now they have like a new version of it building up, I think with Dan Hayes, who was working on Far Cry. But point is, he's working on that. So knowing that background, and then also the game director is Dustin Browder, who was a lead designer for StarCraft 2 in there. So it's like, oh my God, is this going to have some StarCraft 2 energy in it? And the answer is kind of, sort of. So it's a very funky thing. So it is... trying to get the genre down. Think of Sea of Thieves, sci-fi Sea of Thieves, but then in a playtime that's like 20 to 40 minutes, and it feels at times like a battle royale, but it's also primarily a giant sci-fi capture the flag.
So it's not an open world thing where you just encounter people. It's like battle sessions?
It's a match.
It's a match. That's exactly it. And it's procedurally generated for like a bunch of asteroids and little, planetoids you can interact with in this arena. And then the first ship to grab the magical artifact and get through the quote unquote Wildgate wins. Or if you're the last ship standing, you win.
Ooh.
And yeah, so it's 5 teams of 4. And that is kind of the cool appeal of this whole thing is having a co-op team. You are going out exploring, doing a little mining, picking up weapons, bringing it back to your ship to upgrade the ship. And then you can battle the other ships as you try to find where this thing is, the basically flag you have to capture.
And from what I've seen, it's not just ship-to-ship combat. It's you can launch yourself out and go in the other ships and stuff.
This is player versus player stuff. I'm such a sucker for any game where you can be in a big ship, then get out.
Be a little bastard.
And be a little bastard. And it's so cool because you're just like all flying through space. There's different, fuel you can get, ways to heal your ship, extra boosts, all that fun stuff. But then it's so fun because you can just jump out into space, and it doesn't make any sense scientifically. So cool it, Kyle, you sci-fi geek. Like your character
really ready to get into that.
I get it.
I don't put up with that in video games.
But it's fun because you can just like drift through space. You have a little grappling hook and stuff. And so technically, you can really sneak up on other ships. Like if you leave your ship like hiding behind an asteroid or something, you can like jump out of your own ship, fly through space with your little jetpack, secretly board an enemy's ship, and then you can, mess with their ship in big ways, but also you can just steal their weapons. So you can just fly through space if you're sneaky enough, steal a weapon, fly all the way back to your ship, then install their awesome weapon, and then start coming around the asteroid and unloading on the enemy ship using their own weapons against them. They'd be like, wait, I thought that was ours. Do we still have that? Okay, it's like, I'm a sucker for that. And the way they talked about it is, the game director was like, I wanted to make a first-person quote-unquote shooter where the first instinct isn't always just to shoot the enemy players. You know, like there are times where you want to just like stealth around their ship. There's different characters you can choose. They all kind of have their own, upgrade tree and stuff like that, or kind of battle pass like thing. But there's some of them that there's like a moth looking character, because it's like wacky sci-fi, right? And this moth looking guy is, I think it's, if he's not moving, he's invisible. And so you can just, if you want to focus just on stealth and like invading enemy ships, you can do that. But then also you choose which ship you want. And some of them are like, okay, this is called the Bastion, and this is just like a rock solid ship. All of the doors, all the entrances to the ship are like welded shut, except for one opening, so you always know where people are coming from. But then another character you can choose is like this big guy with 4 arms, and he could like rip through all the sealed doors if you still want to try and sneak in there in some way. But just that dynamic of being able to jump out of a ship, and then jump back in the ship, like man the guns, man the turrets, or it's like, okay, I'm missing this turret, I'm going to jump out, fly through space, try and get inside the enemy craft and take out their entire ship, because if your ship dies, you're out. Except, here's the funky thing, is if the ship dies, you're out, because it's like the automatic respawn point. So if your ship is losing in combat, in the ship-to-ship combat, you can jump out of the ship, and if your ship explodes behind you, you can survive the rest of the match. You just can't die because you can't respawn without the ship. So technically you can just be like one lone freak slowly drifting from asteroid to asteroid, like watching all these other sci-fi spaceships battle each other. It's a really cool
There's
idea.
no way to make another team's ship yours, right?
No, I don't think you can commandeer the ship. No, I don't think you can. But you can sabotage them in different ways. So yeah, it'd be, I guess, a little imbalanced if you could just collect all the other 4 ships in the match, and then they wouldn't be able to do anything about it. But it's like, I'm a sucker for this type of co-op game that it's leaning into the silliness. You know, it wants just some weird Sea of Thieves level hijinks, like it's cool because you can send out a little probe and kind of scan the asteroids and stuff around to figure out like, okay, there's going to be loot in this kind of little mini dungeon if we go get that, as we kind of build up our own weapons and the ship's weapons and special abilities and stuff like that. So you can go out and do it that way, but then also you can find secrets. Like something we found quickly is like, okay, there's a teleporter in this little dungeon. Let's go in the teleporter, and then you get teleported to, it's always random. One time, like we were teleported right to the artifact, the thing we're trying to get for basically the flag, for capture the flag. Another time it was like, okay, now we're just being teleported into basically a treasure haul. They made the comparison of it's like the Roman Aladdin, with just unbelievable treasure everywhere. Like grab as much as you want, and you can always automatically teleport back to the ship. So you can just grab all of that stuff and then head back. And so it's a cool, funky little thing that, it's the classic situation though of if you're playing a co-op heavy game in a preview event, it seems like the best thing because everyone's focused, everyone's really into it, right? And it's like, I'm curious to see in the wild how it's going to go, but I really want to play with you guys and like a team. And I think it's going to be so much better when we know the different weapons, different possibilities of what these upgrades can be, when we can recognize what weapons the ships have, when we know how to counter certain things with certain character picks on our own end and stuff like that. It's a weird deal.
I'm very interested.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I wonder if it's only fun to play with 3 of your friends, or if it could be theoretically as fun to play with 3 randos, depending.
I think so. I mean, they have like, the Apex Legends ping, which I feel like is just kind of like a default now. And so they're trying to make that work in a way.
I prefer the Left 4 Dead ping.
Oh yeah, Left 4 Dead ping, absolutely. I am curious to see what it would be like jumping with randos. It seems doable, but definitely seems tailor-made for if you have like a core crew and your ship layout well, and all these different things. But
I just know that always the top complaint is like, I don't have 3 friends. What the hell?
Right.
How am I gonna play this?
It's like it is, again, in the shadow of Concord. Not really knowing what this game was when they started the presentation. It's like, oh, in a world where you are scavenging for the things in this sci-fi world and finding, basically they were like, okay, you're kind of space pirates, right? And it's like, they were building it up in a way where it's like, oh no, this is going to be like Concord. Oh no. And then they like lean into the angle of like, okay, you're in an area called the Reach, which is like collecting the remnants of a bunch of different civilizations. And it's all kind of boiled down to this. I was like, oh no, this is like Battleborn. This is Battleborn meets Concord, and then you see, oh no, it's Sea of Thieves. Okay, like I can relax. They're dodging a lot of those, even if visually you might make some comparisons. It kind of just looks like a more it's, they put it as optimistic sci-fi. It definitely has a lot of Overwatch vibes, Haley. Like even the reload animations are very over the top in an Overwatch kind of way. They know, a lot of the team worked on Overwatch. Like they know the recipe they're working with here. But I'm curious to see if they'll get you in particular.
Yeah, I'm down to try it.
There we go.
That's interesting. I feel like we often overestimate like how much our social media bubble or what we see actually represents the player base at large in something like a shooter not doing well or people being down on it. But I feel like something like Concord, God bless them, maybe invites harshness is mean to say, but like
Victim
you can
blame.
go look how I know for sure, but it's like look how derivative this is. They're trying to do another hero shooter or whatever. Versus something like this, it's hard to imagine a groundswell of hatred for it, of people going shame on them for trying this when it is something that feels new. At the very least, even if it's not successful, I don't think people will be rooting for it to fail.
Is it just the co-op versus competitive shooter angle? Like, you always hear stories of how the Monster Hunter community is so much nicer than other gaming communities. Like any co-op focused game is inherently going to be more inviting. And if you're jumping into quote unquote Call of Duty competition, you're going to have a, more harsh reception maybe.
Be a part of it for sure. And just the space, the ship to ship, like jumping out, going into other ships, like everybody loves that fantasy. Yeah. Everybody thinks that sounds fun, even if they don't play it.
Oh, and even, it even harkens back to my beloved Astro Duel 2, the little 2D indie game from last year. Cause like, I'm such a sucker for, the ships have shields, and if you like focus your fire on some area, you can kind of take down the shield in that pocket. And it's so satisfying to be in your ship. The ship-to-ship combat is wild. Where if you blow a hole through one section of the shield, then it's like, okay, now I can get in the turret and really unload, and I can actually hit the people as they're in their ship by firing through the window, through this shield. Like that, I just love that weird interaction of like big thing firing on the little people who are still running around inside. But then also you can get out and just jump the enemy ship and try and, if you can outshoot them, you can, take all the goods from their ship and stuff like that and move on or destroy it entirely. So it's a cool thing. Curious to see how it does. They say they want to go, the goal is to have a 1.0 release this year. And they weren't really, we had like a whole Q&A section, and they said they weren't into the idea of like having a long public beta testing period. It's like, no, we kind of we'll have a testing period, but we really want to hit the ground running 1.0 this year for Wildgate. And I embarrassed myself where we did like a Q&A with the developers and stuff. And it's one of those things of like, well, there's a bunch of press in here. I have a million questions, but I don't want to hog it. So I'm going to wait until they're completely out of questions, then I'll ask another one. And no one else was asking questions. So I just felt panicked and I kept having to ask stuff. But I asked like, oh, did you, how close did you want to get with nods for StarCraft fans, considering your pedigree? Like there's the probe in the game, which looks so much like the probe that the Protoss have in StarCraft and stuff. And Dustin Browder, the game director, he's like, honestly, I have not thought once about the fact that probe looks like the Protoss probe. I was like, oh, all right, never mind. But it's just that weird thing of like, it's so obvious to me.
Answer.
But like, for a developer who's been working on this thing for 5 years, it's like, oh, I completely forgot that, that is just a Protoss probe, isn't it? Flying through space. What are you going to do?
I love that. I love that when you're in that situation where you're like, oh, I got a killer question. They're really they're gonna reward me for noticing this detail.
They're gonna think I'm cool.
Like, oh, I never thought of that. I never considered that.
But you're really smart for bringing up that this game looked like the other game. Super good question.
Right, exactly.
Give him a hand.
Yeah, give him a hand, everybody. Kyle, are you thirsty over there, man?
I'm parched.
For drinks. And also, are you a little bit hungry?
Starving.
Well, might I interest you in Huel? They reached out and said, hey, do you want a new sponsor for the podcast called Huel? And I said, with a name like Huel, tell me what it is. And I'll tell you what it is. It is ready to drink meal in a bottle is how they put it. Ready to drink meal in a bottle.
That's like something Willy Wonka would make.
You think I won't drink Huel, Leo? You think I won't drink Huel right now?
I don't think it's ready to drink. I think you have to prepare it in some way.
You guys don't think I'll chug this full bottle of Huel on this episode of the podcast because they're supporting this podcast in a big way?
Chug a meal.
I'm going to do it.
Is it human fuel? Is that what they're going for?
God, it tastes like human fuel, if that means it tastes good. I was really unsure about it. Like, okay, they're packing this thing full of protein. It's not a protein shake, not a protein drink, but it's got a ton of vitamins, ton of protein. It's got a lot of stuff you need in there. If you're, going light on a meal, you're skipping lunch, but you need a little something, you can go for Huel. Worried about how it's going to taste, but here I got strawberry banana delicious, truly great. To the point that now I have a fridge full of Huel, and I'm like, I gotta get this out of the house because I'm going to be drinking Huels all day, every day. I'm gonna have the equivalent of 16 meals in a day because they're so frickin' good. But really solid stuff. If you like smoothies, you want something easy and clean, Huel is there for you. So new customers, you can visit huel.com/MinnMax today and use the code MinnMax to get 15%. Excuse me, puking up Huel. Get 15% off your first order plus a free gift. That is Huel.com/MinnMax. Use the code MinnMax to get 50% off your first order plus a free gift. It's cheaper than coffee. Cheaper than a coffee is how they put it, Kyle. I was like, yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. If you just need a little something throughout the day. Hang on, I'm going to chug some Huel.
That's what I say when I buy DLC. I'm like, this is cheaper than a coffee. I'm going to buy this DLC.
Heck yeah. So you can go to Huel.com/MinnMax today. Use that code MinnMax, 50% off your first order for Huel. Check it out, everybody.
Is it owned by CEO Hob Huel? Thanks.
MinnMax community reference.
Shouts out Jorby.
He'll love that. Shouts out Jorbs.
Thank you to some of our biggest supporters. I'm talking about people like I Am 8-Bit, of course. They want you to know that in their wonderful online store, they have the Ori and the Blind Forest double vinyl soundtrack, the reissue, now back in their store. Also, they have the Ori and the Will of the Wisps soundtrack on vinyl. Truly one of the best soundtracks over the last decade. Great soundtracks, get them on vinyl, celebrate them, help support I Am 8-Bit because they support the MinnMax community in a huge way. Check out their wonderful online store. You'll be impressed. If you saw the GDC travelogue, you saw us walk through the physical store at the GDC setup, and Haley and Sarah and I were gaga over everything they had working there. But go to that wonderful online store, find something for you, check it out, and you can use the promo code GREENMACHINE for 10% off of everything in their online store under $100. That is the promo code GREENMACHINE. Check it out, everybody. Help support I Am 8-Bit because they support the MinnMax community in a huge way by shipping out a prize each and every week to whoever has the best questions submitted on Patreon. We go through all these. If you support us at the $2 tier on Patreon, you can submit a question. We choose some of our favorites, and then we choose our number one tippy top favorite. That person wins the prize from I Am 8-Bit. This week, they win the vinyl soundtrack to Outer Wilds. Echoes of the Eye. Outer Wilds, Echoes of the Eye.
Nice.
Yeah, sweet one. But we should probably get some company here to jump in and answer these community questions. Are you all ready for a little magical clap?
Yeah.
Do it.
Matt Miller, welcome to the MinnMax Show, sir.
Hello.
Hello, it's nice to have you. I am going to call you Miller 1,000 times throughout this, but the weirdest thing is ever since I left Game Informer, you're now insisting, screaming that you are only to be referred to as Matt, and it's really throwing me off.
I fire anyone who calls me Miller, so
That's
it's a
right.
good thing. No, I don't care. I don't care. It's just, here's the deal. When I started, there were like, what, 4 or 5 Matts at Game Informer.
They kept
between
breeding. It was
editorial
horrifying.
And like the production team and the like ad team and stuff. And so I was relegated to, Miller, and
Relegated.
What's that?
Relegated to Miller.
I mean, it was like, that is what you have to be. And at one point, in a fate I barely avoided, Andy, our prior EIC, wanted to come up with something else. Like, he was like, maybe it should be a whole different name. And he tried to pitch me, I kid you not, guys, he tried to pitch me on it should be Millhouse. Like, I don't know if he had a thing going for Simpsons at that point or what was going on, but he was like, maybe you should be, for your professional name, you should be Millhouse. And I'm like, and here I'm like, at that point, I'm like 24, I guess. This is my like dream job I've just gone into, and like the EIC is coming and being like, you should do this. And I don't know, I'm like, I mean, I guess I could. I don't really want to, though.
So was this like the nickname in the issue that
No. He
was
wanted
like,
it
your
to be
byline should be Millhouse.
He's like, I've already printed 300 business cards that say Millhouse. Please accept millhouse@gameinformer.com as your email address.
I am sure that he does not remember this. The next time you talk to Andy, you should ask him. But I'm sure he's like, what is Matt Miller talking about?
Close one.
And yeah.
If
but
people,
anyway, so
yeah. Well, thank you for being here, sir.
So after that, it was Miller, and then there weren't as many Matts, and I got to be Matt again. So it's like kind of like
I got to be.
Your
I got
final
to be Matt
form.
again.
That's nice. That's so sweet. What year did you start Game Informer?
2004.
2004.
My good friend Joe Juba preceded me. He had found out about a job from one of his buddies at Game Informer, like December, like November, December, something like that, 2003. And I was like, it would be a real jerk move to like try to go for that job as well. But I did like, Joe, we got to get you that job. Like, and then if you get the job, maybe then I can get a job later when they have another spot. And that's actually totally what happened, is that like about 3 months later, they opened up a new, like, I think they were maybe 8 editors at that point. They were moving to adding a ninth editor. And Joe came home one day and was like, hey, guess what? There's another spot open. And then I was like, sweet. And I put together my resume and all my writing samples and stuff and sent them over to Andy. And then he left me sit for like 3 months.
Oh,
How brutal.
It was rough. It was okay because it all turned out in the end.
Yeah. And now the big news is Game Informer's back. We talked about it a little bit at the top of the show and everything, but congratulations, Miller.
Thank you.
I cannot imagine how many meetings, how many calls, how many stressful evenings. It's a dumb question. Is this, scale of 1 to 10, how hard was it for you to revive Game Informer? Was it just a matter of like, I don't know, corporations and money is going to exchange hands, there's going to be 1,000 meetings, but like personally, how difficult was it on your end?
9.
9
difficulty. Like if you combine the emotional and mental load a little bit here, it was maybe like the actual work maybe wasn't quite that. I mean, it was very much like lots of meetings and lots of back and forth emails with different parties, and but I don't want to try to. I certainly shouldn't try to imply any level of credit for the actual thing. I mean, the folks who made the acquisition are the people who did the negotiations with prior owners and all that kind of stuff. So that was not me. But I think one of the things we were, Kyle, me, the rest of the team were really pleased about was that they started with us, right? Like they very shortly after the shutdown, I was contacted, and they started with the team. They recognized that the talent itself and the relationships we had and the working dynamic that we had was like really the starting place. And that was a really, really good first signal to me that they kind of got it. And so when it's, and then it was a matter of like talking through, like, is it a different brand? Is it like trying to get back the brand? And that, that was largely them. And, but me just sort of, giving whatever feedback I could.
Yeah.
Along the way.
So you say them. So when the announcement went live, it's like, this is Gunzilla, the game developer that bought Game Informer, but also there was an investment firm involved. Like, who was originally contacting you?
Yeah, it was the people who sort of were running the investment arm of the work that they do. Like Gunzilla is connected to other like companies through investments that they have in all gaming related businesses, and they had kind of opted to, like, they really wanted to get into media, and they liked the idea of trying to find a way to make an impact in that way. And I don't want to speak for them or anything, but my general sense is that they were fans. They liked Game Informer, and they heard about the closure, and they're like, oh, this is kind of like exactly what we were talking about trying to build. Right. But like, here's this group of people that is clearly devoted to the work and knows what they're doing. What if we see if we could do that? And that was sort of the genesis of it.
So Premium Marzen wrote in, by the way, this is community questions. We have a ton of community questions if you're cool flying through these things. Yeah. But they say, first time, long time, a question for Matt. You can call him Millhouse. Thank you, Premium Marzen. What was it like going through the process, keeping in contact with everyone through the whole process of Game Informer getting purchased?
We're a pretty tight-knit crew. I mean, like, I think there's the public face of Game Informer, and, there's there's the behind the scenes, which is both it's a combination of the people who have once been at Game Informer, including several people on this call, and people who are now at Game Informer, and almost across the board, that is a group of people who has a lot of mutual respect and friendship and connections to each other. And I think that's born a little bit out of the attitude that we brought to the work, and the spirit of cooperation and like kind of trying to help lift each other up a little bit. That was part of it. And it's also just that it's been around for a long time. So there's a lot of different people who have those kind of connections. In the case of the group that was there at the closure this summer, we were it happened really quickly, and so we were right away still in communication with each other on channels, on like a Slack communication channel, as we were when we were working. And so we kind of kept that still going. That became kind of the main way that I was keeping folks up to date. I sort of opted for a like total transparency approach to things of like, hey, everybody, there's this possibility that has arisen. I think it's a long shot.
Right.
But we're going to see if I want to see if it can pan out. Just want to keep everybody in the loop. At that point, of course, everybody was like, everybody should be actively continuing to pursue whatever opportunities you can find and that kind of thing. I definitely don't want anybody to feel like they need to wait it out. But you should know that like I'm looking into it, right? Because it feels to me like this is something that's worth it's worth fighting for it if there's even a chance that it can happen.
Right.
And so we just kept it was mostly on that on Slack with regular updates. Kyle, I'm sure you could add your 2 cents. Some of those updates for me were like pages long.
Oh yeah, no, I think you approached it really well. Where it was like, I mean, technically the answer is Slack. Like we just all, continue to talk on Slack. It's like to simplify it, but like, I always, Matt, I always appreciated that you're like, hey, this is what's going on, but like, I am as unsure if this is going to happen as the rest of you. Like, let's not put a ton of eggs in here, but I'm going to keep watching this basket for us. That's kind of what Matt was doing, which I appreciate.
I mean, there were rumblings forever. I mean, Jeff Akervik, he was on the the MinnMax show, completely different. The MinnMax show years ago, I think, when he was let go, talking about like, there were talks of could anybody ever buy Game Informer out from under GameStop? And then even Reiner, when he was on Bonus Pod from MinnMax here, he was like, never know what could happen. Game Informer might come back. So I feel like there were things bubbling for years of like, could somebody ever buy Game Informer? I mean, Miller, I know you know 1,000 times more than you want to reveal here, but like it has been a long journey. And let me even wind back the clock for you a little bit. I mean, going back to when Andy McNamara wanted to build the new site, the idea was, with Margaret and the crew there heading that up, like we want to make this completely separate from GameStop so that, fingers crossed, if Game Informer could ever separate from GameStop, it'd be good to go. And now like that initiative from Andy and Margaret and the team back then could not have paid off more. That like, the site, it's completely separate from GameStop. I'm sure there's 1,000 tech hurdles, but it's not like that site is intertwined within GameStop systems in 1,000 gross ways. And that's all because of that push for like, maybe we could get independence years ago. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, some of that stuff predates me being in a leadership role, right? I think there were always conversations, as there I think probably in any business, about like, what's the future of the company look like? How do we continue to evolve? Like all that kind of stuff.
Except there's more us screaming it. But yeah, I hear you saying that. Yeah.
yeah. And I think in the latter years, just because there had been some notable departures and changes and things like that, I think the pace of those conversations and the like wondering about it, went up. There's more of that in the latter years. It's worth noting though that like this thing that ended up happening didn't have any relation to that stuff that those conversations that happened before, right? Like the ones I was privy to and the ones that I wasn't, because they predated my involvement. This was very much a kind of a fresh opportunity that arose after the closure. I had, as some of you may recall, I'd put out a letter from the editor just on social posts, which of course probably made you, Hanson, laugh because you know that like I've tended to always let our official social media be our place, the place that I talk. I'm not really a big into doing my own personal ones, and so I didn't really have any like active engagement with that stuff. But I did at that point, of course, I didn't have access to the official channels anymore. So it was really just here's a letter from a private citizen who used to be this editor in chief. But I had put in there at the end, like, this is a really good team. If anybody has some opportunities for any of those people, I like basically made a new Gmail address and said, like, reach out to me.
Yeah.
And there was I think for me, it was a little bit of I hope the people who this message is to get the subtext, which is like, I'm sending out a fishing hook, right? That like, this is a really good team. They work really well together. We're good at doing what we do. You should contact me if that's something that you want, right?
Right. Because there were enough big, strong nibbles from big names and outlets and people in the game industry that were talking about buying Game Informer for so long. And it's like, clearly it's a thing that people might want.
Yes. So I was like, I don't know if that's going to work, but we'll so to speak, throw the fish hook into the water and see what happens. And that's what happened, right? Like somebody reached out and then there were a lot of conversations and I
would love to see you at your most stressed out over the last 6 months and then just your summary of there were just a lot of conversations. Meanwhile, you're pulling your hair out screaming.
You are right to conclude that there's some of that stuff that like, I can't talk about. Sure. Right. But you could imagine that, just to set clear understanding of things, you guys know about me, but maybe some people listening might not. I'm not like a business guy or anything like that. This has been largely my entire career has been, kind of moving through the different spaces of working at Game Informer and that kind of thing. So it was brand new territory for me, right? Like to just have the conversation with other people about the idea of something happening. And so as you could imagine, those conversations were stressful to me because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I also was conscious that like, not like I, held people's lives in my hands or anything, but like, if it could happen, there was this possibility of like, maybe this whole team who I really care about and who are really, really great at their jobs, like this is a thing that I can bring to them, and then of course it becomes like everybody independently can make their own decisions, which is what ended up happening. And by happenstance, everybody like did ultimately sign on. Yeah. But like that awareness that like, I was sort of trying to carve something, not just for myself, but like, a hope for dynamic with everybody was like, wore me out. It was hard.
Yeah. A lot of responsibility.
So.
Yeah, but thanks, Matt, by the way. Have I said that publicly?
you have said that, and I don't. But I also think that, like, I want to be very, very clear. It's not like, somehow I, like, single-handedly did this. This was very much like the people who made the acquisition are the people who, like those folks at Gunzilla. All due credit to them for the hard work that they put in to make it happen. It was just my part in that was very much just like, I can be a representative of this team to you and tell you what's like important to us and that kind of thing. And then you can take that for what it's worth. Right. Yeah.
So we talked to Kyle a little bit about it at the top of the show, but the physical magazine is coming. It's on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
It is not years in the future. It is sooner than we might think. Is that a fair assessment here?
Yeah, that's the plan. I don't think there's anything cagey about that. It is purely a function of like do the logistics in your head, right? Like we're gone and we come back. You can't have a magazine that you ship out to people that day because you don't have an audience and you have not talked to any of your contacts who would give you content for that magazine. That's not the way that it works.
And also the physical printing of it is like, you don't have the same
100%.
publisher.
There's a whole like thing there.
And they also, sorry, let me cut you off on the issues of Game Informer, but also like, the folks at Godzilla have to figure out how to print a magazine in the US. Like, what's call number one you make?
I think part of the appeal for them was that in my conversations with them, I was like, listen, we have a team that we know how to do all this stuff, right? Like it's not, just to be very clear, it's not that we brought back the editorial group, period. It's that we brought back the entire team that was creating Game Informer magazine and website and the videos and all that stuff. So we do have a lot of expertise. We have contacts with various places that, whether it's with apps that we need or it's, printers that we might work with, that kind of thing. So of course, all that stuff has to be re-examined and all that kind of thing. But like, we can take advantage of just that expertise and to create something, right?
Yeah.
So they don't have to do a lot of that stuff. Okay. And of course, because everything's been set up as an independent entity, they're not, right? Like we're doing all that, but it does have to happen. Like we have to set up all that stuff, and that takes some time. And we also have to like reconnect with the audience and get interest. Right. And it's why right now, very, very shortly after we've relaunched the website, we're kind of saying like, sign up for an account. We got a couple of like cool perks in there, including like, I think it's pretty neat that we were able to carve out this like, you can check out the whole backlog archive of last decade plus of magazines, or like if you sign up for a free account, that's just there. And you can like all those features and cover stories and interviews and stuff like that on top of everything you can read on the website. That's all there. But like part of the reasons for building up those accounts and getting people to like make new accounts is that, ultimately we want to be able to have an understanding of like, who is the audience? What's the scope of the audience that might want to, here in the next couple months or whatever, come back and like, now here's a thing that like we have to produce that costs money, and are you interested in this?
So it's almost the Steam wishlist equivalent is to go make an account on Game Informer and sign up for that free thing.
That is 100%. Like we have heard like when we shut down, there were a lot of people who reached out in the industry and in the audience that were like, I wish there was a way to help you guys. I'm really sorry that this happened or whatever. And likewise, in the last few days, that has also been a very, very common sentiment. There is a very, very simple answer to that question, which is like, go make an account on GameInformer.com. Like, if you do that, then that gives us a little bit more information. So and gives us a way to reach out, and say like, okay, now this membership and subscription program is sort of up and running. This is what it would cost.
Right.
This is the perks. This is what, comes with that. And that's what we're now like Kyle and I and the rest of the folks at Game Informer are like working. Like we're simultaneously like now underway as an active outlet. We're doing news coverage. We're, doing new reviews, that kind of thing. As these days pass, you'll see the pace of that get back up to full speed. And simultaneously now that we're public, it's much easier to get more firm commitments and involvement with the partners and the PR professionals and the developers and the publishers who we would want to reach out to and like create some of the like exclusive and cool content that people understand. That's what Game Informer does, right? Like that's what makes Game Informer special.
Is there a and people don't pay for covers, by the way, but is there a bit of a PR bidding war of like, oh, if you get like the first Game Informer cover back, that'd be really cool?
I think it's early days yet. I hope that there's for some folks, there's a little bit of the like, it'd be cool.
Stop being so damn meek, Miller. Come on, man.
No, I mean, I just call it how it is, I guess, right? Like, I think that I will say that there are people who, as soon as we contacted them, were like, great. I'm so thrilled to hear that. We have a thing we would like to talk with you about. Right, like within 20 seconds of us sharing the news, that was what was going on. And so that is it's very gratifying. It's a testament to the work of Kyle and the rest of the people on the team that they have those relationships and the work that they've done doing prior cover stories and features and interviews and things like that. I think that there is just a established reputation that we have that like we're going to do good work, we're going to be thoughtful partners, we're not going to shill for you, we're going to be honest in our evaluations of things, and certainly once we get to reviews and critiques, we're going to be clear when we like things, we don't like things. But ultimately, we are professionals, and we care about trying to find a way to really talk about the games in a entertaining and cool way, right? And I think there's value there, right? Like it seems like a weird thing to say, like, but really, like, there's lots of other people who are doing really, really great work in covering games, and I don't by any stretch mean to dismiss any of that. But there are also people who are doing coverage there. It's like, that's not, you're not professional per se, right? Like you're not doing your research here or approaching this with any level of respect or anything like that. It's sort of like, let's package snarkiness and disrespect for everything that has to do with games, and make that be the product more than like talking about the games. And I think that's just not what our identity is. More power to you if that's like your thing.
Thank you.
And that's what you like to. That's what you like to engage with or whatever as an audience member or whatever. But it's just like kind of not our thing. And like, I want to be a place that, as you guys do, right? Like that celebrates games in because we like it, because we like it. It seems like a weird thing to say, but because we love games and we like to share in that liking with other people. Yeah, you should change your name to Dr. Respect Miller. I think it's kind of a new avenue for you. I think it'd work really well.
Happy Joe.
Satisfied Joe. Just real quick, I mean, when it comes back to physical magazine, is there any chance it'd be quarterly? Are you guys committed to monthly at this point? I don't know yet. Okay. I think that we want the ultimate like package of what it is to be something that people are really excited about and that they are compelled to become members and subscribers and all that sort of stuff. It would be unfair of me to try to characterize what that would look like right now, other than to say that like our starting place is we knew what we were doing before, and there were a lot of things that people liked about that. So that's where we kind of start in our thinking and then see where that gets us. Gotcha. J Herb wants to know, they say, congrats, Matt, and the whole Game Informer crew. What written or video series are you most excited to bring back / continue with this new Game Informer revitalization? Do you see replay in the future? Maybe a reboot to the podcast? Thanks again for your stewardship of the magazine here.
I mean, the boring answer for some of these questions are like, we're not completely sure yet, but like in terms of like what I want to do, I like Game Informer show podcast is something that like we've just been kind of we haven't had to been able to have like a major discussion about it yet, but I want to bring it back for sure. So subscribe to that feed, stay subscribed to that feed, and not impossible that it'll come back. Yeah, and also like I really like doing new gameplay todays because it was just this like great excuse to just like check out like games quickly and like like get your hands on a bunch of stuff. So I like that series. I want to bring that series back or revisit it or try new things with it. And I mean, I think there's a question, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but like people have certainly asked about Enfarcer, and we've had discussions about Enfarcer. That's the
Game Informer show. I love that.
So, I mean, that's stuff we all want to do, but it's like, it's hard to commit to anything right now. Like we've been so focused on just getting the website back online like the last 2 weeks. So it was a little bit of like, we will get to these discussions later. Like Alex Van Aken, right? He's a big part of the Game Informer show. Like that's his, it's weird to call it like his baby because it's not his baby. It's like his adult that he adopted or something. It's Helgeson had it as a baby and then it was an adult that he adopted. I got the rowdy teenage years. You had the sort of child and teenage years. Tim's the absent father. he put together that fantastic sort of introductory video, and that has been his life, like for the last, however long. So he just hasn't even had a chance to like catch his breath. But I mean, all things I want to do, and we're eager to sort of have those discussions and figure out exactly what they're going to be.
Okay, so replay, it'd be foolish not to continue it. Right?
Oh yeah, I mean, that was one you specifically mentioned, but yeah, Marcus and I were kind of Marcus was carrying that torch for a long time of replay, and like we were doing it every Friday, and yeah, that's something I would like to pick back up for sure. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I'm not 100% promising it.
Okay.
We don't know yet. We just don't know.
Leave them alone.
Yeah, stop yelling at me,
Look,
Leo.
they just wanted to announce that Game Informer's back and then have no follow-up questions. What's so hard to understand about
That's
that?
so unreasonable. No, I completely understand people's follow-up questions. These are all internal discussions we've been having that we've almost had to push aside to be like, yeah, but let's get that website on.
Right. Totally.
How long have you been just grinding to get that like backlog, the stuff that it's already filled with as it went live?
All the reviews and stuff. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
I'm curious. We haven't really talked. Do you like that? Was that fun?
It was a fun novelty.
Fun.
Yeah, it was unexpected. When I first heard you were doing it, I was like, I don't know why, but it's just like that is a cool idea to have like a continuous thread and not just have this gap for Game Informer coverage. Technically,
yeah, for the long term of Game Informer, we don't want that there. But yeah, I mean, I think I have been full time since February 17th. Like that's where I'm at, and that was pretty much everybody, with only a couple of exceptions that weren't able to start on the 17th. But since then, we were writing reviews and like having discussions about Game of the Year and stuff like that. Yeah,
gotcha.
Cool. Yeah, we talked about that a bit at the start of the show, but it makes it very extra exciting, that whole reveal.
Yeah,
I think we want to. We're big into like let's send a message through the things that we do, right? Like rather than saying we're just going to do something, let's like have that it actually reflected in the work or whatever. And this was our way of saying that, like, yeah, we weren't around for a while, but like this whole group of people, like games are a really, really big part of our lives. And because we were out of work from doing this, it doesn't mean we were unplugged from engaging with the hobby and with the games and stuff like that. And so some of it was like titles that we had engaged with, let's say 5 months ago, and that we came back to then and like, okay, let's get back up to speed before we try to say something professional, like a professional critique about it.
Right.
Other times it was stuff that was like, well, nobody did get to this one because we were busy looking for jobs or whatever. So somebody should play this, right? And so we poured a lot of time into trying to do that. We thought the Game of the Year thing, that was almost cool. Become like a little bit of a tradition. And it also became an excuse for us, as Kyle jokes about in the video a little bit. Like, it was nice to just get back into a genuine editorial scrum of like, let's argue about this for a while and try and the way that sharpens and focuses an understanding of like, what was that year like for games? What was it about? What was important? That kind of thing.
Right.
I did get to do it here at MinnMax, so I got like a double dose of it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome, Kyle. I'm proud of you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
It's good.
I work on my part.
Luca Alberti writes in and says, it's time to bring the spice. Now that Game Informer's back, what happens to rapid fire questions? Dibs.
Oh, gosh.
Dibs.
Putting us on the spot.
Try and beat
maybe
that.
The first time that we've even like had that conversation. I'll answer it this way. I will say that our you'd ask like what features we want to bring back, and this maybe you would think this would go without saying, but just to actually say it, I think one of the things that like Game Informer did that was really cool and really special, just as almost as a foundational way of understanding what the entity is, was like our cover stories. And the way that over a lot of years we evolved that to be this, like, when we say a Game Informer cover story, it's more than just like that. It's about a sort of a level of focus and attention and celebration of a particular title and its creators that is really comprehensive. And it includes things like the rapid fire interview structure that it was there for so long. It includes that dynamic of like being at a studio and really having that firsthand understanding of a game, and who the people are that are making it, and the whys and the hows of that kind of thing. And so like whether it's the rapid fire interview format or like other things that traditionally have been a part of that kind of thing, that whole cover story thing, I think it is very, very, very likely that would be still a core aspect of the way we approach coverage in a given month.
But just to confirm, you did hear Leo and I say dibs faster than you guys, just to be really clear?
Right.
Okay, just want to make sure.
I mean,
I feel like it's good enough that it can have a few places to live, isn't it?
well, if we do the same game, that's going to suck. That we wouldn't want to do that.
That maybe.
Wow, would we coordinate on that?
That feels gross too. I have to be like, okay, you guys get this one, we get this one.
I think. I mean, we haven't talked. This is us talking about it now, which is funny.
Yeah.
But I think that's absolutely the future of it. Is they both do them, and then like we talk to each other. We're human beings. We'll figure things out. We'll have jokes sniping at each other within the two.
I don't care for that.
Great.
I don't care for that.
All right, then we'll take it. Then we'll just take it, Ben. If you don't want to coordinate on this,
I think we already took it. Hey, thanks to Factor Meals, everybody. Factor, everybody. If you're in a jam, you need food fast, you can check out Factor. Haley, how long do you like to spend prepping your food?
0 minutes.
What if I told
She
you...
only drinks Huel.
What if I told you could get that in 2 minutes, Haley, with Factor Meals, delicious,
allow it.
nutritious.
I might allow it.
Just try it once, and I promise you won't go back. You want every meal ready in 2 minutes. That's what Factor Meals can offer you. It arrives fresh, fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle, with 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. It's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Keto, Leo. You can reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat with Factor Meals. You can eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/MinnMax50 off and use code MinnMax50 off, number 50, off your first box plus free shipping. That's code MinnMax50 off at factormeals.com/MinnMax50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Having a big box of meals ready to go in 2 minutes delivered right to your doorstep. Truly convenient. Mwah. Just the finest. Factor Meals, everybody. Check them out. David Kelly, tough question. Says, welcome back, Game Informer. What is the state of the Game Vault? Which was a collection of every game that Game Informer was shipped. Confusing one. What can you all say about where the vault is right now?
Not much. Only that like maybe you know as much as we do, right? Like that wasn't part of the sale.
Right.
Is the short answer. So I think for anybody who's listening who didn't know the context, it's worth understanding it's a collection of games that starting a long time ago. The editorial group at Game Informer, when games would come in, one copy of everything would sort of be set aside. It started out as a little small closet, grew into a big room that was kind of a big library of games, and it was definitely a very cool thing, but it just wasn't part of the thing that was purchased. I can't speak to its final destination or what happened there or any of that stuff.
Well, we know from our end, right, that it was packed up and shipped off to GameStop headquarters. And I heard, talking to different people who packed it up in that U-Haul, that it went to the old studio space at GameStop, but we don't know. It's not for sure that we know that everything was divided out to GameStops. There's the old Game Informer statues and the GameStop in Mall of America, but we did a video where we talked to that employee there, and he seemed like greatly exaggerating the idea of everyone could just grab everything and put it in their pockets. It doesn't seem like, talking to other managers, seems like, no, they shipped it all off to GameStop corporate. So who knows? Who can say? Leo, are you also in that same camp of maybe this is nihilist, but I don't really care where the vault is. It's kind of one of the least interesting things about Game Informer to me. It's there's a bunch of games that were on retail shelves anyway, right?
I mean, if we had done that show, we talk about how it would have been so good. Criterion Closet in the Vault.
Right.
We would be missing it more.
That's true.
But yeah, it was gone as soon as the Game Informer was gone to me, and before. It's again, I don't know I know less than anybody on this call probably about where it is. But what would you do if you were an evil company with nothing of value besides the vault?
Hey,
look at this. Miller, do you have access to Brightcove, the old video player? That's what I'm more curious about than the vault. That's all lost. Okay. Well, that's a shame. Patrick G writes in and says, what's one thing that Game Informer is striving to do to make itself sustainable in the future? They say magazines don't magically become profitable. So what will help the magazine/companies stand out and make money moving into the future here?
Yeah, it's a thoughtful question. I think it's worth understanding that like we without trying to delve into like business specifics or anything like that, right? We had a new sort of standalone subscription program last year before things shut down that was doing quite well, and so it's always worth noting that like we can't speak for anybody's decision makings around business or anything like that, but I do think that like there's a conscious effort on our part moving forward to look at the marketplace and understand like, okay, well, what do people want? And one of the things that has really emerged there is that like both from the evidence of what we saw with that subscription program, which was some pretty substantial interest from people to like engage with, I'd like to get a cool gaming magazine still. As well as the broader interest in like what we do and the kind of features and videos and that kind of thing. There is, we think there is interest, right? We also, took time to look at other categories, right? And understand that there's a lot of places out there that are physical magazines that cover a category of hobby and do it very, very successfully. Right, like you can go across the board of places outside of games and see a lot of that kind of thing being perfectly like profitable.
Who are these people? Like Fields and Stream. What are you talking? What magazines stand out to you?
I mean, I think you think about something like. Well, Sports Illustrated, right, or something like Cigar Aficionado, or something like that. Stuff
Sure.
That's like you wouldn't think of off the top of your head as folks who like our hobby is games. But there are these places that like if you're a hobbyist for a thing, you want to. It is fun to have a magazine that is about the thing that you care about and that makes your hobby more enjoyable or you understand it better. And I think that very quickly began to emerge as one of the things that was a priority for us. It's right, like whatever decisions we're making, and the ways we approach coverage, we want it to be ways that enriches your hobby of playing games. Right. So if it's a cover story, let's say, to use that example of something
right.
we really do a lot of, you want it to be like somebody who takes the time to engage with that cover story content, with the actual story, with the magazine, with the videos on the website, all that kind of thing. You want them to come out the other end and be like, wow, like now that I'm like checking out this game and I'm playing it, I like it better and I'm having a better time because I understand the context of what the creators were thinking about when they made it and all that, the technical side of like what they were doing or what the artists were inspired by when they made their game. And I think taken in total, like for me anyway, and for the people on our staff, we think that there's value to that, right? And that's where the sustainability comes from, is that idea of like offering that to people and giving them something that does that for them in the hobby that they care the most about.
Do you have the number in your mind of like, if we get 1 million subscribers, we'll be sustainable?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, part of it is that I think we are in it for the long haul, and we've had the conversations we've had with the people who acquired Game Informer, right, at Gunzilla. They are also in it for the long haul. Like, as you might imagine, anybody who's like into, when you hear about something that's like an investment group that wants to like get a company and do it, there's a version of that where it's like, well, we want to get it, and we want to transform it instantaneously into this thing that looks like it's way puffed up and that we can then sell off and that kind of thing.
Sure.
That is explicitly not what they want to do. They have told us very, very clearly that they look at Game Informer as a long-term, like, aspect of the portfolio of what they're doing, and that they want it to have an impact and continue to do the things that Game Informer has done within the industry over these many years, and that's kind of one of their big priorities, and not about like somehow instantaneously transforming it into this like money machine, right? Now, that said, it's a business. We want to try to be successful and reach lots of people, but I think we understand that as being an organic process that we're going to do over time.
Yeah.
We have the benefit also of selling a physical product, right? If you look at like who we're competing with, you know, like the GameSpots and IGNs of the world, like we do have a thing, like a physical thing that we're selling, which is like gives me some confidence about the long term. Yeah,
but also it's a physical thing that costs a lot of money to produce, and so it's a tough thing to try and factor it in.
No two ways about it, right? Like I mean, that's going to take, you know, again, we talked about like launching the website, trying to gauge interest from people. We know that the magazine is like a sort of the core thing that people understand about Game Informer, and so right out of the gate we have that commitment that like our target is to bring that back. And, you know, a big part of our job in the coming weeks and months is to, you know, craft a membership and a subscription program that makes that worthwhile and appealing to somebody. Yeah. And ultimately, that's just what it'll be like in a few weeks when we talk about what that is. I'm hopeful that a lot of the people who have registered interest will look and be like, that's pretty cool. Right, like that. Yeah. What they're trying to do there is worth whatever the price tag is that we put on it, right? And again, that's one of the other things that we have to finalize and figure out.
Yeah, and you all wouldn't do this, but you know, Leo and I, we like to dunk on GameStop a lot. But all the things you can dunk on them for, like they pushed the hell out of that magazine in the store for years and years and years, you know, and it was so incredibly important to have people coming through GameStop store to push it. And so all that to say that when the physical version of the magazine launches at Game Informer, like if you're a fan of Game Informer, you need to become that GameStop employee pushing the Game Informer magazine on other people on your streets. Start a lemonade stand, get Game Informer subscriptions rolling out there. Like we need help getting the word out, right? Is that fair to say?
Yes, that is 100% fair to say. Not speaking anything to about what it was before, what the business model was before. For us right now, we are an independent company that is going to produce the content that is in front of you for better or worse, and all the things that come along with that. Right there is no like umbrella, good or bad. There is that like we are Game Informer under Game Informer Inc. and we're going to have this product and this subscription and this membership option that is our primary thing that sustains it as a business. And so if the kind of content we're producing is meaningful to you, if you like that as being part of the gaming ecosystem, the way we talk about games and the way we write about them, the videos we do, it's not a complicated formula, right? Like you either like that and you are willing to give some money each year to like have that thing, or you're not. But we hope there's a lot of people who that there is that excitement, right? Like they sometimes you hear developers all the time will say that thing about like, you know, you make the game that you want to play and you try to like not worry too much about what other people are doing. And I know it's corny a little bit, but like that philosophy does apply to what we're doing as well, in the way that we've talked about how to approach our coverage and the magazine and all that kind of stuff. Is that like we as a team like getting a magazine. Like we all look at our phones all the time. We all like get we watch gaming videos. We like we listen to awesome shows like this. Like there's nothing like there's nothing that's bad about any of that. That's part of the ecosystem of what we're doing, right? We have our website and the video and all that kind of stuff too. And that said, we also really, really like getting a magazine that's like, oh, look at that slick cover art. Mm-hmm. Look at this long form piece of journalism. Look at this, you know, this experience that I can have that's not about staring at my phone for a few hours, right? Like where I can look through and dig deep into some interesting topics around games. I can, you know, have some interviews with people who I care about within the gaming industry and that I wanted to know more about. Have some stuff in there that's funny, have some stuff in there that's like thoughtful angles on the games industry that you wouldn't have had before. And that like that having that in your mailboxes, we like that. We just do. And so that's what we want to make.
So you mentioned, independent company, Game Informer Inc., which is an LLC. But I mean, I think it's confusing. Just to be really clear, like Gunzilla owns Game Informer. They set up the Game Informer Inc. LLC.
It's an incorporation, Ben. It's not a limited liability company.
Thank you, lawyer Haley.
You're welcome.
So Familiar Spirit is wondering, like, what does that mean? Does it provide more autonomy, or why point out that idea of there's a separate, what is it, Haley?
Incorporation.
Thank you.
I think that the general idea is simply to like establish it as its own independent entity. That's the big takeaway, and that we the insistence from like for those of you who know what Game Informer has done, like out in the audience, right? You understand that like for a long time it has been all about this idea of like the editorial group selecting what we're going to do next. It's not like an ad group that's telling us this should be your next cover story or something like that, or these are the games you should review or any of that kind of stuff. That is never ever been the case in the entire history of the brand, and we weren't going to bring it back if that wasn't going to be the standard. And so it was sort of one of the very first places that we started. When they reached out, I was like, oh, this is kind of exciting that they're interested in our team and maybe bringing us back. But I hope they're not thinking that somehow we're going to like write about certain things or that they're going to tell us what to write. And so that was like one of the very first conversations that came up. And thankfully, they were as eager to sort of surface that with us as we were. They were like, the Gunzilla folks were very much like, we want this to be what it was. We want it to be this like independent entity that's going to write about games. We want to establish this like what became Game Informer Inc. I don't know that it had a name at that point, but like we want to establish a way that it can like live on its own as its own company, so that you guys make your own decisions. You write about the things you want to write, and so that's really why it exists that way.
Okay. Gotcha. James Palermo has a tough question for you. The return of Game Informer is great news, but how do you square that with the fact that they are now owned by an NFT/blockchain games company with Gunzilla? They'll supposedly have complete editorial freedom, but the Washington Post and the LA Times tout that as well, despite having clear signs of ownership interference. If the most renowned journalistic institutions in the country are victim to conflicts of interest and knee bending, I think it's reasonable to ask tough questions about the functional limits of integrity for a games magazine.
100%. That's very much a very reasonable question. I think that to some degree, to return to what I was just talking about, we'd established this separate company, this separate entity of Game Informer Inc. precisely because of the idea of like these two entities should be different things,
church and state,
right?
Yeah.
And that they should be separated. And so, my understanding is that, the folks at Gunzilla are involved with investments with a lot of different gaming related companies. And like they wanted to set this up as this independent entity so that we could keep doing the things that we want to do. They've been like super supportive of what our needs were throughout the process of both like getting up and getting going, but also once we started in terms of encouraging like our input and our perspective on how things get set up, they've been really honest and open. So I mean, just straight up, I don't have anything but positive things to say about our relationship with them thus far. But I also I can't speak to their business strategies because they're not our company, right? Like it would be presumptuous for me to defend them or for me to take them to task about anything about what they're doing with the business, because they're just not us, right? They are certainly the people who made the acquisition of Game Informer, but then they promptly sort of handed us the controls and said, go do this thing. So I wouldn't presume to, you know, in answer to the very reasonable question that your viewers bringing forth, I wouldn't presume to try to do that for another company. I can only speak to what like our relationship with them has been, which is that they seem to be acting in good faith, pursuing a thoughtful approach to letting us do what we want to do and to be a thoughtful entity into the future. And that's really what is important to us.
Yeah, makes sense. Swan Song says, this question is for Matt. First of all, congratulations on the return of Game Informer. I'm so excited for my favorite magazine to be back. Second of all, I think it's awesome to be able to rehire 100% of the team that was laid off last year. But if you can say, are there any plans to bring back former editors that were laid off prior to 2024? Or is the approach similar to what you were doing before the hiatus, where you would sometimes include pieces from freelance writers?
Sure. The part of that falls under that banner that Kyle and I were talking about before, which is that like we came back in like a few weeks ago, back into a shared room where we were all, you know, paid employees of Game Informer. And at that point, it was like, okay, guys, what needs to happen? It wasn't like, to be very clear, because we had set it up as Game Informer Inc., all that stuff we were just talking about, it was like we were the group, right? It wasn't like there was some preset thing that we arrived and like, okay, well, this is up and running and this is the plan and this is what we're doing. And that, if anybody who has that perspective on it or that thought that that's the way it was, that is not what it was. There was a specific goal to say like, that again, I'm very grateful to Gunzilla for approaching it from the structure where as I was going back and forth with them, I was like, we shouldn't be doing planning and strategizing and graphic design experiments and talking about like none of that should be happening until we bring the staff on to do it. They should be a paid team. And they were like 100%. Yes, that is the right way to do it. And that is what we did, is that we brought the team back and then we started work. So there were a lot of things these last few weeks that we were like, okay, what's next? What's the next thing we had to do? And a lot of it has been like, okay, we want to get that. We have the site, we have the magazine archives. We want to start gauging interest from our community. That's our priority. Let's get this video done. Let's get the, you know, a letter that speaks to our audience done. Let's get the site up and functional. Let's do some of this gap content of reviews and backlog stuff. And get that up and then turn our attention towards stuff. So that's a long preamble to say that now that we are there, we can turn our attention towards some of those subsequent things, like where is the subsequent content coming from beyond just like what we're going to produce as a team.
Right.
We were doing a lot of freelance stuff in the final couple of years of Game Informer. I will be the first to admit, by the way, I was dubious of that approach because we'd gone for a long, long time prior to that without doing like non-staff contributors, and I was really worried when we first started it that it was going to be
wasn't going to feel like Game Informer.
Yes, or it would dilute the voice of what we were doing. And I really, honestly, I could not have been more wrong on that front, because what we found was that by adding those contributors into the mix and getting those contributions from people, we not only got like a bunch of interesting international perspectives, like writers who were literally like, I live in Africa and I want to write a piece about, you know, gaming in this part of the world. But we also like it contributed to the ethos around Game Informer being a place that was like offering interesting perspectives. It didn't subtract from it, right? Like it became this additive thing, and I really transformed into an advocate of like how great it was. So to that point, I think one of our big things we want to do is to continue doing that and to involve, you know, experts and contributors any place that we can find them, and expand the scope of what we're doing there. That's one of my hopes.
Have there been discussions would you ever hire more people on who were let go before 2024?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think we would, the goal we have explicitly said is that we want to grow. as I said before, a lot of the people who have been at Game Informer in the past are like, it's a close-knit crew. And there's a lot of folks that like being able to have them back on staff would be really awesome. But ultimately it's going to be a decision around like, where are we in need, right? Like what is the next thing as we go step by step that needs to be, that can most help Game Informer, speak to our audience in the way that we're trying to,
Sure.
And then finding the right person for that. So yes, are we open to bringing people back? 100%.
It'd be weird if he said no.
What's that?
It'd be weird if he said no.
Yeah, no, I hate all those people.
Dan Tack, I'll see you in hell. Yeah.
We would absolutely do that, but I do think that like it's going to be very, very much on a like, when we need this thing, what is this next like need that we have? What is the next most important thing we need to have our staff be able to do that we aren't currently at our best for?
Sure.
And then finding the right person for that. And to the point, by the way, of like prior team members, there are a lot of people out there. There are dozens of people out there who were once at Game Informer who have expertise that I would love to have back on the team again.
Yeah, right on.
I probably have to leave it at that, right? Like, I don't know beyond that if specifically if there's an option to do that, right?
Gotcha.
And then,
Well, I hope you're sitting down for this one, Miller. James from Michigan says, what do you think there's more of in music? Yaz or Naz? Yaz seems like the easy choice, but anytime Na appears in a song, I feel like it's repeated a lot,
Right.
often being the entire chorus of the song.
But Yaz ad-libbed more.
But it's just
Probably a lot
repeated less, but like, hey Jude
There's a lot
alone.
of like single
like,
interjections of
songs.
in a
Yeah.
lot
There-
of songs, right?
I gotta say, I feel like I have a hard and fast answer to this. There has to be more Yaz.
Really?
Yeah, I would agree.
I really, really think there's more Yaz by a wide margin.
But hey Jude, that's upping it at least 20% alone.
One song.
Little John's whole career is just yelling, yeah.
Are there
Good point.
is anybody's career just yelling nah into a song at random
No,
intervals?
that's what I'm
See, I
saying.
don't
I
think
feel
so.
like the Naz are way lower.
Now, do we count Nas as being important to music? Therefore,
What
that's
about Lil
upping-
Nas?
That's exactly it. Lil Nas.
Nas.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you factor that
And I
in.
think the answer is no. We don't count their name as being part of the song.
All right,
But anyway, the Yaz would counter them.
oh damn
Knock
it!
them out.
You can't win. Sassy Luchador. By the way, Miller, are you okay? Not talking about Game Informer for a little bit.
Please.
Sassy Luchador says, with the rise of Pew Pew Bang, I love it, by the way, our new standalone podcast. Is there any podcast ideas you all have had but didn't go through with? Or maybe you want to pitch one now? I'd love a podcast with Kelsey talking about the history of random games /consoles/events. Check out early episodes of the Video Game History Hour. She was on the first half of that, a ton of episodes there. But yeah, other podcast ideas people have.
I had one that I did a few episodes of that now people can go and find if they want, which was
no.
my my partner and I did a show we called Game and Makeup, which was essentially I forced him to play a game that I liked that isn't necessarily his vibe, and then we talk about it for like 2, 3, 4 hours or however long.
Perfect.
And so he played Super Mario Sunshine and Night in the Woods, and what else did I make him play? Something else. And then he made me play Death Stranding and Dark Souls, and I would fully beat them, and then we'd talk about them. And it was really fun, but like, what a horrible sustainable model for game. I'd have to sit down and play the entirety of Death Stranding and then talk about it for 2 hours.
Oh, God.
We'd be like, next episode in, I don't know, 4 months, and then we just couldn't keep up with it.
I feel like you had the way harder job there.
I gave him such
Yeah,
chill
Night in the
games.
Woods. Come on. I can beat that right now.
You're coming in with him to like, why don't we play this Mario game? And you're like, and he's coming to you with be like, you don't like Dark Souls. Beat Dark Souls. That's
And then
brutal.
it's like you won't beat it, so then I had to beat it. Or
Of course.
Yeah.
failure.
Right.
And then you know what sucked is like I'd be playing it like I'm not gonna like this, and like a third in I'm like, damn it, these games are great. now,
My
like, now
boyfriend's
he's right.
smart. What was the name of that show again? If people want to dig it out.
Game and Makeup. It's on Game Query's YouTube channel, and then we had our own separate YouTube for a while, but I think we have like at most 300 views on one of them. They're very Very small.
Game Informer, pick it up, revive the series. That's all you guys do. Miller,
I don't have time.
I don't know if you remember this, Miller, but I remember at some point talking to you. I think it was like when we were setting up for the Game Informer show or something. We're talking about like what would be your ideal podcast? What would be your ideal segment to have on the Game Informer show? And I still think about it all the time because you're like, oh, I know exactly what it would be. It would be two wheels with different kind of pop culture / cultural storytelling narrative things. You'd spin it, and then whatever the two would land on, I'd find the narrative and thematic threads that would connect those two. Like you just would spin it, and it'd be like Transformers and the Coen brothers. Go, you know? Do you remember this?
Ben, I'm going to be honest with you. I have zero memory of this. But
it was good.
To be, in all fairness, that does sound like me.
We got him, folks.
Real Millhouse move right there.
It's a real Millhouse move.
Classic Millhouse.
It feels like something that I would have been into, and that no one else would have been into listening to.
Man, can you try it? If you ever revive the Game Informer show, I want you to try that. I'll give you that idea. We won't even take it for a new show plus or anything, Miller. I swear.
Wow.
Oh, you're letting Miller have his idea.
Yeah, he didn't remember it, so technically it belonged in my mind only. Yeah. By the way, Miller, quick review, because I just watched it on the plane. Transformers 1, the animated movie. Was it dorky enough for you? Is the conclusion I want to get to.
Quirky?
Dorky.
Oh, dorky. I thought that movie was good. I liked that movie. I mean, clearly behind me you can see there's like a bunch of Transformers. So anybody who doesn't have the context, I have carried my childhood love into my adulthood of like robots that turn into other things. It was fun. What did you? You're like clearly not as big into Transformers. Did you like it?
I don't think I've ever seen an episode of the original Transformers show, and I only saw the first Michael Bay movie. I did like it. It's like it's one of those things of like I saw the trailers. I'm like, sure, okay, Transformers prequel, whatever. But it's like, wait, the director of Toy Story 4 made it. Like, do I have to pay attention to this? And then reviews were like shockingly positive. I'm like, yeah, it was solid. I liked it. Like, you know, not to spoil it. I think the Metatron turn was a little quick, a little confusing.
Did you say Metatron?
Oh crap! What's his name?
Oh,
Megatron.
Megatron.
Oh, Ben.
Metatron. I was thinking of course, the other Dogma.
Optimus
I think Metatron.
Prime.
So I liked it. Kyle, did you like it?
I didn't watch it.
What?
I've never really been a Transformers guy, and my daughter is now at an age where I don't feel obligated to watch every movie directed towards children, even if I'm not that interested in it.
You have changed, dude. I know
I've changed. I used to. It was funny. I remember having a discussion with my wife when the reviews were good for that movie, and being like, "God, do I have to watch this?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Oh yeah, good point."
I will say I've reached a point. Like there's been some stuff that my elder child, my daughter who's 6, like she has got into the stuff that I'm into, and that's been really fun. Transformers was not one, and I don't expect a sudden transition. But my 3-year-old now, he's started to like key into it, and I'm like, oh man, do I have some fun for you ahead, because there's a lot of Transformers to transform in this basement.
Millie, you're one of the smartest people I've ever met, but I think if a 3-year-old was suddenly like, I'm suddenly really into the things you're really into, I'd be worried about my passions in life. Not that it's not sophisticated.
I think that's a fair criticism, and I think it's one that my wife has leveled at me many times.
Someone's doing the Lord's work over there.
She's definitely like, you know, the things that the kids are into are awfully close to the things that you're into, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
Sorry, chocolate milk is good, dude. Caffeine Dad writes in and says, considering the Game Informer crew experienced a classic time skip of about 8 months from when it shut down to its glorious rebirth, it got me wondering what your favorite time skips in media are. For Caffeine Dad here, Dragon Quest V and the time skip between Naruto and Naruto Shippuden are top tier in my book. Dragon Quest V is a really good one. I love that game. Time skips.
It was a recent one that really caught me off guard. I guess it's the HBO show Barry has a really unexpected time skip, and I adore that show. I think I would put Barry in like one of my top 5 favorite shows.
Wow.
And like there was a time skip that I did not see coming at all that really surprised me. Yeah.
It's like in the middle of a season.
Yeah.
That's
one that comes to mind for me.
My favorite time skip, probably a lot of wildly divergent opinions on the overall quality of the show. I'm acknowledging that, but Lost has an awesome time skip. Like the fact that they spend as much time as they do in the early seasons establishing the structure of like, okay, there's this dramatic thing and these people on the island, and then we're gonna go back to their lives beforehand, and then you have this switch that flips partway through the show where it's still the island, but now we're going forward to after the island. Was like when it happened in that show, I remember like that, like it like straight up like gave me goosebumps. I was like, that's awesome.
We gotta go back. We gotta go back.
There's no doubt about it.
Isn't Yellow Jackets doing something like that? I think my sister was telling me about how much she loves that mechanic.
I haven't watched that show yet.
Thing.
Yeah, that thing. I feel like this is so popular. It's too boring to name, but I will say, being in the theaters for Avengers Endgame, when the text comes on the screen, it says 5, and it feels like it holds it forever, and it's like years later. It's like, like that was really an incredible moment. Like,
that was awesome.
Yeah, and the fact that like that wasn't leaked at all in a world where every Marvel scrap is devoured. The fact that we're going to see how sad the world is 5 years after everybody messed up. It's so good.
Anybody remember the show Reboot?
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Didn't that have a time skip in it? I remember it as a kid, and it's really stuck with me, and I'm having trouble finding the details of it now.
Oh, it's the character Enzo, which was a child during the course of the first like season or two. He gets stuck in a game and becomes an adult, and like that's the time skip. He's an adult, and he's like becomes this like really, it like predates like Jack and Daxter to Jack 2. He becomes this sort of dark, injured child that has like, I think he's wearing an eye patch and like has to like try to get back home. And that Reboot's crazy. That show's awesome.
Yeah, I remember watching that, like only want to wake at a sleepover through a couple episodes, like waiting for it to be undone or whatever, waiting for it to be a dream sequence, but that was a weird, heavy idea.
The first few episodes were so like children focused. It was just like, look at this crazy animation. These guys are playing games. And then like the second or third season, it becomes like this like continuous story that has a really dark edge to it. It was really like a big switch. It was very strange. I think it changed networks and they just went wild.
Haley, remember when South Park for just one season's like, now they're in 5th grade? It just never changed again.
They also did like the COVID thing where they were adults for a while too.
Oh God,
that?
I don't think I would watch that. No,
I barely watched that.
Obviously, the correct answer is The Lion King and the fantastic Lion King prequel, Mufasa: The Lion King.
Over the waterfall.
Well, there's a good bit, genuinely a good bit, in Mufasa: The Lion King, a movie I'll defend on several levels. But where Timon and Pumbaa, they're talking about singing Hakuna Matata and stuff. And they're like, yeah, you remember that song? Don't you remember we sang that song for like 6 years straight? So that's a good bit because it's like the whole transition thing. All right, see Mufasa, pretty good, Haley. Gotta admit.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Do you think you're in the 99.9th percentile of amount of talking about Mufasa for a human being?
I guarantee it. I'm working on, I think the ideal
episode alone
version of that movie is I want to just rip the audio out of it and then like have a hand animated version of it, because then people would say it's good.
Of course, you want a hand animated version of that.
So I'm going to be working on that. I'm going to be flipping through the animation cells to animate all of Mufasa: The Lion King to not look like trash. You know what else
that movie donked me over was my family and I went to Disney World, however long ago. They're like, oh, the safari ride's closed because the animators are looking at the lions. So we didn't get to go on the ride because they were over there looking at lions for inspiration. Google it, animators. I'm trying to have a nice fun day with my family.
I don't need to Google it. I'll close my eyes right now. Lion King, yeah, it's got like a mane. You get the idea. It's yellow.
Your family could have used Google, Haley.
Yeah, right. What am I going to Google? The ride? Just look at a pic? I want to experience it. They can Google animation.
Blake Barber writes in, because Miller brought up the key words, he said the key phrase, ding, 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 ding. When's the last time you got goosebumps? And what gave them to you? Blake Barber says, I hate to be basic, but damn, did the end of Wicked get me? Yeah, it got me sure.
Great. That was a good movie.
Good ending.
I'm a bit of a goosebumpy girl. My friends often check my arms if something intense is happening in a movie to see if I have goosebumps. I'll be watching RuPaul's Drag Race and I'll just be like getting crazy goosebumps because their lip sync is really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
My most recent one, I had a pretty good one recently. I got to, I considered it a mission for myself. I know this is not true for all moms and dads out there, but I tried to navigate my 6-year-old to this age to get her to watch Empire Strikes Back without having it spoiled.
Whoa!
And
Wow.
I did it.
Wow.
And I got to the moment and like got to watch her watch that.
Yeah.
And that did it. That was really like, I recommend it.
Whoa.
If you can swing it, it's pretty rough. Like you really gotta you gotta be on guard for like 6 years. I don't think I'd be able to get it like for the other one, because now the first one already has it. So I've got to like not only have watch out for external spoilers, but like the danger is in the house now.
Yeah,
right? Like
that's
the
tough.
older sister could like break it. But I did swear her to secrecy afterwards, so we'll see. Maybe I can get like a double hit of that.
Did she
sweet
like it?
goosebump.
Like, did it hold up for her?
Yeah, she liked it.
Okay.
She's like asking. We watched like original trilogy all the way through, and like she straight. It was one of my proudest moments. She a couple days ago, she was like, "When are we gonna watch the next Star Wars movie?"
Oh my god!
And not only that, I was like, "Which one?" And she's like, "The first one." Yeah, you told me it's the first one. She even knew that, and I was like,
She, like, paid
"That's my
attention.
girl
That's
right
cool.
there."
Wow, unbelievable.
So
Also, was Megatron really that bad, or was he just misunderstood? And do you think Starscream deserved the role that he got? She's hitting all the beats. So what was her reaction then? Like, recreate it.
I think it was kind of like, it was a little scary, but not like, oh my gosh. But she was trying to like, she was kind of looking over at me. I think she was like
Probably because you were like
dubious. Like she was sort of like, is that for real kind of thing?
Fun. Okay.
You know, like is it or is he like tricking him?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
is he saying something that's not real because he's a bad guy? And I kind of I didn't answer. I was like, well, we got to just watch. And, but so it was a little scary on that score maybe, but she was excited about it. And
That's
it was
sweet.
pretty neat.
I don't watch wrestling, I swear. But I did go over to Dan Reichert's house a while ago, and it was when for John Cena turned heel or whatever. And it just made it seem like it was the most normal thing in the world. I was the only one that was weirded out by it. But did you all know that, like The Rock, when he comes back to the WWE and he walks out into the arena, his recurring thing is he makes the camera zoom in on his arms because he wants to show the genuine goosebumps he gets from walking into the arena and hearing the crowd reaction every time. I thought, I was like, that's why. Like, how can you guarantee that? Like, what if one time you walk in the arena and you don't happen to have goosebumps, and now there's a camera up in your grill? Like, it's the weirdest like biological test. It's such a foreign idea, but I guess he's been doing it for a long
Loves
time
it.
or something.
I bet he stands in a freezer first. And that's how he does it.
Do you think? Yeah, I guess you don't see the transition. There's got to be some little actor nonsense trick that they do to make sure.
He's got little muscles inside each little bump on his skin that he can flex.
You don't think The Rock is a capable enough actor that he has to go to tricks?
Yeah,
Ben?
you're right. You know, what was I thinking?
Greatest
get
actor of our
goosebumps.
generation.
I get goosebumps
Most
so
actor, at
easy.
least.
I just got goosebumps of you telling me The Rock gets goosebumps doing what he loves.
Got update your answer.
No Warp Zone says, what are you going to do with your Switch after you get your Switch 2?
Hang it up on a little rack or something.
Like an animal mount? Like,
Yeah, like a little
Aw.
frame, break in case of supreme boredom.
In
I
case of
guess.
Labo.
yeah, it's a fun question. We're all going to have a bunch of Switches lying around. And in theory, if it's almost fully backwards compatible, like, what do you do?
I probably, because I remember my family has one. I probably will sell all but one, and then just kind of put that in I do have a cabinet of like old consoles that it'll just go in there. I mean, realistically, I don't need multiple Switches.
Why don't you give it to the needy, Kyle?
For selling it at a discounted price on eBay? That's pretty good.
Okay.
Well, you want me to donate it? Is that what
Those
it is?
I don't
people are
know.
needy. They need the discounts on eBay.
I think I'll probably give mine to my nephews. That'll be a fun surprise.
I was gonna say it's probably like something to do with the younger generation. It makes it like right now, it's like when I hand my Switch over to play in handheld mode to one of the kids, it's like, careful, I
Yeah.
can stop having to say that maybe.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want. That'd be
Go
great.
nuts.
Go nuts.
Test writes in, hey, MinnMax, in 2021, the Pokemon Company ran an infamous favorite Pokemon poll. Do you remember this, Haley?
Yeah.
Okay, a favorite Pokemon poll with some strange results. And then in 2024, Bulbapedia released the least visited Pokemon's pages. Can you tell which is which? So this is either one of the least popular Pokemon according to Bulbapedia's page views, or according to the Pokemon Company, one of people's favorite Pokemon of all time in this poll.
Is this going to be really easy, or do you think there's some sneakies?
I got to say, Haley, as I constantly have to defend myself on this podcast, I've finished every mainline Pokemon except for Black and White. I don't know the names of any of these freaks. Okay, we got to... Which one is least popular versus, according to Pokemon Company, most popular? Haley, is it Dedenne or Trumbeak?
Dedenne is really popular and Trumbeak is not.
Correct. Really?
Dedenne's cute, right?
Dedenne is a cute little fire type. It's like electric type.
It looks
mouse.
like it's like a follow-up Pikachu.
How many
basically.
knockoff Pikachus do they have to have? They're up to like
15.
5? Oh my God.
One's gonna hit.
Pomo and that
One's
line.
gonna hit.
Toss it in the garbage.
Rolling the dice again. Let's see. Haley, is it Cincino or Clang?
Ugh. Clang is not popular and Cincino's popular.
Correct. I really had to look at Clang. Like, oh, that's right, the weird gear
He's
guy.
just metal.
Yeah, I
gears.
forgot
Hey,
about that.
do you think if Ben threw in a made-up name, like you would catch it? You think?
Ooh, let's see. Well, now
Oh,
I'm
really?
on the guard for it.
Haley, which is more popular, Quilladin or Sableye?
Sableye is popular. Quilladin's not popular.
Correct. You nailed it. Congratulations.
Japan loves Sableye.
What? Really?
Yeah.
It's a cool look. I actually kind of like Sableye.
Got the diamond eyes, right?
Yeah, he's,
Yeah.
cool. He's
Bipedal.
cool.
Yeah.
Jordan,
I was wrong on all of those. My instincts for what name would make a popular Pokemon are off.
Jordan Rogers, you're telling me Clang isn't to the top of the charts?
That's a Donkey
very
Kong
least
Country enemy.
Easy to look up.
It's true.
Easy to spell.
You know what game's impossible to Google is the new game from the creator
Arms.
of ARMS, but no, To a T from the creator of Katamari Damacy. I keep trying to Google To a T game. You cannot successfully Google that.
As
And
soon
it
as you have
works.
game, it works.
Try it.
Right?
Try To a T game.
All right, to a T
We're all
game.
trying.
Everybody go to Opera GX. Try searching To a T game.
First result, the Steam page
To a
for
T
2
on Steam.
Not for me.
Annapurna Interactive, Katamari Wiki, YouTube, To a T, Steam, To a T, PlayStation Store, To a T, Donked.
Really?
And then-
Spelling it right, Ben?
Well, I can't remember how to spell all these things. It's not on my page at all. This Google.
It says more about your algorithm than ours.
Oh boy.
I don't
Are
know
you-
what it says about it, but it says something.
Jordan Rogers writes in and says, let's move on from me being wrong. I recently played through Avowed, and I was struck by the amount of writing that was in the form of random notes / books scattered throughout the world. Frankly, I don't tend to read most text notes in games, even though I always want to. What do you think is the optimal length and frequency for text notes in games, if they even have a place at all? Should all just games have an audio log?
No, two short paragraphs.
That's too much. 3 lines.
It is weird when it's too
Like a fake
short.
book, though.
Resident
Like a
Evil
fake-
You
approach,
can't-
man.
You can't be scrolling.
I remember talking to a developer once on this topic. I can't remember. It might have been somebody at Bethesda about an Elder game, but I wouldn't stand by that statement. But I do remember having a conversation that it was some game that had like copious numbers of books where you can like you go up to a bookshelf and you pull a book down, you can like read like 7 pages or whatever. And they said that there was like a segment of their audience that like was in love with that.
Right,
And
of
that
course.
it was a small group of people, but that like for some people, like it was like what they did with the game is they would like go around and like they wanted to read that lore. And as you know, like I'm like a fiction guy with games, a lore guy, and even I like, especially these days, I'm like I do not have time for that.
What about
But apparently there are people who do, and they want it to be like big,
Novels.
robust, like novels.
I feel bad for Kyle. I don't know what your approach was in Wanderstop. How they had like fake books written by sci-fi authors that were like references to Douglas Adams and stuff. I was like, I should probably read all of these, but I just can't. I don't have it in me to read all these.
I perused the first 2 pages of like one. And
Yeah.
I was like, I get it that this is sort of coloring here, but I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, you got to review the thing for Game Informer. You got to get rolling. But then I saw other takes that like, oh, the reviews of those books that you get letters for, they're actually like some of the best writing in the game and stuff. It's like,
I don't doubt it. It's a weird dumb thing where it's like if I'm in the mode to play a video game, I don't want to not be engaging with the controller.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down to, I want to be doing things with the controller, which is why I even struggle sometimes with games where it's just a lot of dialogue, like where you walk up to someone and just tap through dialogue. I get kind of frustrated with that even sometimes. It's just the mindset I'm in when I'm playing a game.
I hate to say it, but it sounds like a companion app solution to me. A second screen experience for when you're not playing the game.
Or Miller, your beloved grimoire for Destiny, which you printed out, if I remember correctly.
I think early on I did.
I love that.
Now they actually have them as books, right? You can actually
really?
You can buy a lot of that stuff in books. I do. I'm sure this will be taken as a sad fact by some people, but like, no. I think that the Destiny fiction stuff is genuinely pretty great sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like literally the actual like written text stuff. Some of it is like pretty sophisticated and thoughtfully written science fiction storytelling.
Heck yeah.
Independent of the storytelling in the game proper.
Miller, do you remember when we went to Bungie for, I think it must have been Taken King's cover story? And they're like, surprise, we made real action figures that we created based on your current Guardian in Destiny.
They're like little like Lego guys, right? Or
it was
like
beyond
Mega
Legos.
Bloks guys.
No, it was beyond that. It was like full like real action figures, like printed off like beyond just little Lego and stuff. I bet you still have yours somewhere, don't you?
Oh, for sure I do.
Okay. Yeah. But I just remember being so embarrassed because like I hadn't put that much time into Destiny 1 at that point. And so it was just like a joke to me. And so they printed mine out and it was just like the dumbest looking like bright purple shawl with hot green neon pants. Like, oh my God. Like imagine not caring about a character creator and then having somebody go through like dozens of hours of effort to make a model of it. I was like, oh my God. Crawl out of my skin. Well, that is it for questions. What do y'all like for question of the week? What stands out as the best? I'm leaning towards time skips. It's novel, like a novel one that we haven't really had before.
Naz.
Yeah, Naz is good. Yeah, Naz is good.
Yeah, it is.
Nah, I kind of leaning towards time skip. Haley, where are you going?
I liked all your answers for time skips. I didn't have one, but I liked hearing everybody else's.
Okay, Miller, you're a guest of honor. Or Leo has to speak his piece first because he's freaking Leo.
Silence, Miller. I like the rapid fire one because we hadn't had that conversation.
That is true.
Interesting. Yeah,
it's true.
We're doing it live.
All right, Mr. Matt Miller, it's your final pick.
I think the time skip conversation was pretty cool. I like that.
All right, there we go. Congratulations. You just won the iMapIt prize. And of course, that is Caffeine Dad. And you won the Outer Wilds vinyl soundtrack. Thanks to iMapIt. Now it's time for something that we like to call Get a Load of This. So, hey, get a load of this in the world of government secrets. Somebody mentioned this, and I don't think I'd ever heard of it before. But apparently, in the months before D-Day, the solution words gold and sword, which were the code names for the two D-Day beaches assigned to the British, and Juno, which was a code name for the D-Day beach assigned to Canada, appeared in the Daily Telegraph crossword solutions.
Just by happenstance?
So this is the question. Then also, they have a roundup of all of the crosswords leading up to D-Day. There was a confusing amount of hints of like Utah, Omaha, Overlord, Mulberry, Neptune. All these like key secret phrases for D-Day were all in crosswords around the world in the build-up to D-Day, and they then had to go back and investigate, like, was this a code? Was somebody leaking this information? Turns out it was all just a wild coincidence, but everybody was extremely
paranoid. The person in charge of
paranoid.
Naming was just doing the crosswords.
That's probably a more likely scenario. Yeah, but links below for all these stories.
Hey, get a load of this. I'm a fan of the band The Police and their drummer Stuart Copeland in particular, because he's a fantastic drummer, and he's also a very charismatic person who is fun to hear talk about music. And I came across this old video of him explaining how he made the music for Spyro the Dragon.
Hell
He
yeah.
did the music for Spyro the Dragon. And it's just this like, I don't even know the source. Like, I don't know where it aired, or I think it was related to, it was like on a PlayStation Underground disc, but it's just Stuart Copeland playing Spyro and talking about how he makes the music. And he's just a really funny, charismatic musician that I always like to hear talk. And it's like a 6-minute video, and he's just really charming. And it's funny to see that era of like music design in games, because it's like that weird window between like fully digital and fully analog, and like and he is like, you know, not really a gamer, but is playing through every level and like trying to figure it out, and is very charmed by the idea that he figured out a job where he could play video games. Like it's just a good old video of a funny guy who I happen to be a fan of.
Yeah, somebody, a friend of mine sent that to me, and he's like, "Dude,
you saw it too? Okay.
He's like, "Yeah, I saw it a while ago actually, like, on YouTube, but then it must be making the rounds on social in a new way." But yeah, a friend sent it to me. He's like, "Dude, you got to interview this guy. He's so funny." And I'm like, "You know, that's the drummer for the Police, right?" He's like, "What?" I thought he was just like the composer for
easy
Spyro.
Just go talk to him.
Sure.
Say, come on, what's the problem?
There's this YouTube channel called Drumeo where they have drummers listen to songs they've never heard and try to play the drums to them, and it's really entertaining and fun. Even if you're not a drummer, it's like fun to listen. But he did one, and it's really fun to listen to him acknowledge that Sting just did not like working with him, and he understood why, because he would just like never remember the drums that he would like. They would like write a song, and Sting would be like, "That's great, do that again," and he'd be like, "I don't remember what I played." So he's like, so I understand why Sting was very annoyed with me, which is just fun to hear him talk about.
Did you ever see those YouTube thumbnails that just drive you nuts? Like, one keeps popping up in my feed, and it's like, John Baptiste hears Green Day for the first time, and the thumbnail, I'm like, there's no universe where John Baptiste has never heard Green Day.
They're lying.
Watch those videos, man. They're convincing that they don't know these songs.
They're all liars.
I agree with Hanson on that one. I bet that a lot of those are manufactured. The Drumeo ones, though, I kind of believe. Some of those, like, I watched them, I'm like, it feels like you're getting this as it's happening to you.
Right.
And it's fun because, like, every once in a while, it like the ones where they almost exactly match it are really cool. Like, without having heard the drum beat, they'll somehow magically get to something very, very close to what the actual drum beat was. But then you get the other ones I like even better, where they're like, they create something that's like completely changes the tone and dynamic of the song because it's like their vibe. And then that's what they play. Those are cool.
That's cool.
Get a load of this. Little trivia question. Let's see if you guys get it right. There's a derivative work based on My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, which is 620,000 words long, one of the longest self-published derivative fan fiction works of all time.
What?
And it is a crossover between My Little Pony and what video game franchise?
Man, I might have known this at an age, a former daughter's age, because we were big into that show. Great show.
Yeah.
Can you give us any hint? Like, even a little, like an inkling, like a genre?
Post-apocalyptic.
Fallout 3.
Fallout Equestria is the name of it.
Wow.
It has been printed in physical format in 5-volume iterations and has sold well, and you can read the entire thing still online.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yep.
Leo, you going?
Get a load of this. Gravy is one of my favorite things to cook. And this is a super simple article that tells you the trick to gravy, which is a 3-2-1 ratio. 3 tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of fat, such as butter or bacon grease, and 1 cup of liquid. And you just melt the butter or otherwise fat, you whisk in the flour, you pour in the liquid bit by bit, and you got some gravy going. And it smells great, and you can do it in a ton of different ways for a ton of different things. Biscuits and gravy. I made Swedish meatballs with it just yesterday. Delicious.
Nice.
So if you don't cook very much, super simple thing that's like way easier to make than you might think it is.
Yeah. I like how Leo's are make gravy and slap your cat's ass. Just get a load of this.
That's a lifestyle, baby. You know,
Suddenly
my gravy.
You got a happy life.
Mm-hmm. My gravy, I call it Huel. Chug a pack.
You can use that as a liquid for sure.
There you go.
Yeah, chug a pack.
Fueled gravy.
Miller, you want to top gravy?
I may have. I'm not sure if I understood the assignment correct.
No one does.
I will share one. I don't know if I've got a link for it. I think that's what I did wrong.
No, you're fine.
But I got a good one, I think, which is that this emerged from conversation with my kid. Lightning is not as fast as light. That is not something I had thought of before. But lightning is actually much, much slower than light.
So it's just emphasizing how fast light is?
Light is the fastest thing, but lightning is not itself light.
That's right, because it's like okay. Oh.
Yeah, and I think in my head, like this was a question. You guys all stared at me like, "What are you talking about?"
I'm so confused.
I'm so confused.
I know this is exactly like it took me when like my kid like brought this to me. It's like it's light, like she was asking me the question, and I was like, "Well, that's wait, yes, no." And I really had it, and then I like kind of was putting two and two together. And I think for the life of me, I'd always connected the idea of like, okay, well, lightning and thunder is like light and sound, and that the thunder gets to you later than the light does, right? And then you can do the counting thing. So I always sort of in my head was thinking about lightning as well, it's light, but it's not. The thing you see is light. It gets to you very quickly, but the thing itself is not. It's like a like the ionization of the air, right? That is flowing back up from the ground to the cloud, and that's like way slower. Like light is. I looked it up then, and light's something like 670 million miles per hour. And lightning is like 224,000 per hour.
It's embarrassing.
Way slower.
Lightning.
Slow.
Come on, start trying lightning. Awesome. Let's see from the Discord, the community Discord, where they share good loads of this is all day, every day. The mighty Ethan shared one. And do you ever see those headlines, those articles? And it's like, oh, this is a corner of passion within my brain that I have never connected, which is the article is just called The UX of Lego Interface Panels. And it's just a blog that's rounding up every Lego block that has like a little bit of like computer interface or like UI or anything like that. And it's just a breakdown of which ones are his favorites, the different like categorization of how Lego approaches UX for all of their different pieces. It is fantastic. So you can check that out in the link below. There's a link below if you want to get dorky about that.
Do you have a favorite?
Honestly, there was one, I'm stealing his, but he shared one that's just like basically an air traffic controller. It's almost looking thing where it's just like a plane flying at a certain weird angle. It looks like an old arcade game with like a grid below it. And I was like, God, that looks so cool. I want to buy that Lego piece, take a picture of it, and then blow it up as a huge piece of art in my house because I think it's so cool looking. But that is it for this episode of the MinnMax Show podcast. Thanks everybody for watching, listening, sharing, all that fun stuff. We got a ton of stuff up. Bonus pod in the bonus podcast feed. If you're a $5 supporter, you can unlock that bonus podcast feed in your favorite podcast app. And it's basically a new episode of Pew Pew Bang minus Kelsey, where it is, Haley and Janet and Sarah unpacking GDC and the best panels they experienced at GDC, but also just more unpacking the experience of visiting the Game Developers Conference. Right, Haley?
Yeah, like the GDC concert, the award ceremony. That was that Wednesday night. That was great. All that kind of stuff.
Oh my God, that GDC concert. I don't know if you've seen that yet, Miller. They have an archive on Twitch. Austin Winery did like this whole concert. It is unbelievably good. And Twitch is like muting certain segments of it, which is frustrating. So I hope that eventually GDC will upload the full version on YouTube and then get exceptions to it. Because like just the parts that are available on Twitch are unbelievable. But then also New Show Plus this week it also has a podcast version, which is up in that bonus podcast feed for your convenience. But Leo, how would you describe the monstrosity you created for New Show Plus this week?
Well, we were ironing out the concept for a while, well after it had been voted to be the show.
Right. It was coming in hot.
We wanted to write a podcast segment, have some of us write it, some of us perform it and be reacting to it live, trying to get in other people's heads to write in their voice and stuff.
Right.
And we were debating, and I was of the mind that it should be written on that episode and then performed on this episode of the podcast by whoever's on it. But you made the right call that it should be self-contained because it let us go a lot crazier with it. And so it's kind of us engineering a viral moment. Something that you go, did you hear this happened on the MinnMax show? There's like demonic influences starting to take them over, you might say. So that's kind of just a tease at where it ends up going. But the script gets performed by you and Janet and Haley at the end. And it's a joy. I've seen a lot of people saying it's their favorite New Show Plus, which is always a treat.
I was going back to like rewatch it and like just watching you all have to lean away from your mics at certain points to like not pick up the laughter. It was very fun.
It's absurd. And then again, reminder, the GDC travel log, you can check it out on our YouTube channel if you want to join us on the experience of going to GDC. We try to capture the experience as best as we can with a raw look, rolling cameras all the damn time, to the extent that the extended cut of that, which is available for $10 supporters, is 6 hours long. So if you want 6 hours of us experiencing GDC, you can join the Backstage Pass here, which, by the way, there's like over 1,500 views for that 6-hour cut already. Where it's like, oh my God, there's a lot of people at the Backstage Pass tier checking out that extended version. So thanks for your interest there. But reminder again, if you upgrade to or join patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's before the 31st of March here, if you join at that $10 tier, I will DM you with a Steam code for The Thing Remastered if you're quick. Or check out our socials. We'll let you know when that pivots over to Turok Remastered from Night Dive. But we'll message you one of those two. So check out our socials first, but there's a good chance you'll be getting that. Let's see. That's it. Matt Miller, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Is this technically the first interview you've done about Game Informer? First time you've talked about it?
Ever.
I mean, the revival. Game Informer 3.0.
This is a brand new thing for me. This whole no, yeah, it's the first. I'm just being a jerk. Yes, it is. I mean, Ben, you were awesome. Like as soon as you knew this was happening, that was like your first thing. Like we want to have you on and give you and talk about it, and that was awesome. So
yeah,
thanks.
No, I appreciate you keeping me politely in the loop on what was going on. Because it was a weird thing of like, we want to keep doing stuff with Charles, but also we hear there might be a big job coming on down the road for him. So it's like a weird thing to coordinate, with Kyle and everything. Sure.
Like, and it is not a matter of politeness. I mean, like as far as I'm concerned, like the work you guys are doing, like we love everything about what you've done and the MinnMax as a entity, and we would do everything we possibly could to like support what you're doing, and we know it's so awesome that over the years that you've continued to like be there for us, and it means a lot to us. So
that's very sweet. Yeah, it's I would always say that when I was going on a cover story trip back at Game Informer with Matt Miller, I was like, well, I can relax. I know we're in very good hands. Miller's going to have a soft guiding force throughout this entire experience. I won't have to deal with stressful PR most of the times. Miller is just gonna like just be as cozy as possible, sailing us down this river. And so I feel like the Game Informer crew has said nothing but glowing things about you at the helm, and it's a miracle this thing is revived. And so hats off to you. And I think they're in as good of hands as possible with you at the steering the ship there, Miller.
Thank you.
All right, that is it for this episode of the MinnMax Show. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll be back next week to talk about the Switch gosh darn 2. All right, thanks so much. Be good, have fun, let's go.